Hey, what's going on, Team Trek family? Welcome back to another episode. In this studio today, I got two awesome SF brothers. I got Frankie Hernandez and Ryan Hendrickson, who together have a combined total of 38 years in service. Majority of that was in combat. Super excited to have these guys on the show. We're not going to deep dive the war stories so much. We're going to kind of hit the wave tops on them. But what we're really going to discuss is that transition process, right? We've all gone through our careers in the military and we've transitioned out. We figured out some solutions to a lot of the problems that our brothers and sisters seem to be having. And so that's really what we're here to talk about today. And so we're just going to get into it. Frankie and Ryan, welcome to Team Trek Podcast.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Dude, it's a pleasure, guys. So real quick, I want to catch the audience up. We don't really know each other that well. I worked a little bit with Frankie over at 7th Group. Ryan, I've had the privilege of meeting along the way, but this is really our first time all getting together. So real quick, we're gonna go through some demographics of where we're from, kind of how we grew up, and talk about a lot of the commonalities that we have together, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So Frankie, if you don't mind, let's start off with you, man. Where are you from?
So I grew up in Miami, Florida. Yeah. Bounced around a lot in Miami, Florida, but mainly I would say like Hialeah is the main area where we stayed at. Yeah.
Hialeah, is that what you said?
Yeah, Hialeah.
Hialeah.
You ever heard of Hialeah? It's right next to Miami. I mean, it's in Miami-Dade.
Okay, so is that like downtown Miami? So kind of city life, or is that more rural?
No, it's city as well. I mean, but it's not as big as Miami. Oh, I mean, it's pretty big, but it's not the same. Like, you know, not like near downtown or anything like that.
So growing up, was it a lot of public transportation and things like that for you?
No, we didn't really have that type of setup over there. But you know, if you go down to Miami, then you would have, you know, the whole public transportation stuff. And in Hialeah, it was just, you know, normal.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could kind of compare it to kind of like Fort Walton, the way it's set up.
Okay, so how did you get around as a kid?
Mainly just buses, right? So, but like going to school back and forth, or if not with the family, you know, just regular, them driving us around.
Okay. Yeah. Didn't know if you were, you know, BMX bikes were real big, or, you know, most of the kids were just riding to wherever they wanted to go, or if it was buses or.
Yeah. Well, we had a bike and we were always all over the place with that too. Yeah. But for the most part, things were still kind of far, right? So like if you want to go in the immediate area, want to go to the park or go to a grocery store or something like that, you hop on a bike and go with your friends, go buy some stuff. But for most part, you know, it would be just driving around because it was still kind of far. It wasn't like that type of, you know, well-developed city where everything was really close by. So you definitely want to be in a vehicle.
Okay. So Miami-Dade area.
Yeah.
All right. Down south Florida. So beautiful weather year round. What about you, Ryan? Where are you from?
So originally, I claim Oregon, but I was born in Northern California and moved when I was really young and basically bounced all over Oregon. But I claim Oregon as, you know, my home state because I lived in one area in Oregon for 5 years, and that's the longest growing up as a kid I ever was in one spot. And so I claim Oregon as my home state, and the small town, about 800 people of Lowell, Oregon, as my hometown. And that's because we lived there for 5 years. So that's what I claim is my hometown.
So was that out on the coast, like near the water, or were you more inland?
It's west of the Cascades, but no, it's still a bit away from the water. We're right outside of Eugene.
Okay.
So diehard Ducks fans. All the comments, you guys can
go Ducks.
leave Indiana out of it. Got it.
Us Bo Nix,
but huge Bo Nix fan. But yeah, it's outside of Eugene, Oregon, and so that's kind of, you know, that's the area I grew up in, and this is all mid 90s since I joined the military in 97. But yeah, that's Oregon's my home state, and Lowell, Oregon's my hometown. I think there's about 800 people there. We were about 1,100 when I was in high school, so we were a huge city.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but
so everybody knew everybody, kind of.
Little too much, yes.
Okay. No, that tells a lot about, at least how things were where we grew up. I grew up in Pueblo, Colorado, and everyone loves Colorado. Before you get excited, it's voted #1 worst place to live in Colorado. It is So grew up there, pretty poor. Parents split when I was really young, so I was on my skateboard from the time I can remember, probably around 3rd grade. I think I had all the freedom in the world. I could go anywhere I wanted on that skateboard, and times were obviously different with no cell phones or beepers or any of that crap. It was just, you're gone until you come home. And like you, Ryan, we moved. I mean, I claim Pueblo, Colorado as my hometown, but we just moved within Pueblo. About every 6 months to a year, we'd bounce to a different place. And so I was constantly changing schools. But and then about 7th grade, after I got kicked out of the Catholic school there, which, that's tough to do. I moved to New Mexico, so I ended up graduating high school from Los Alamos, New Mexico, which is where I reinvented myself for the first time, around that middle school age when I was a bad kid over here in Pueblo, but they didn't know me in New Mexico, so I could kind of start being a better kid. So.
Yeah, a little restart. Yeah.
Did you guys have any of that stuff going on, like having to reinvent yourself? Did you stay in Miami, or when did you end up leaving?
So that reinvention for me happened like every year. Because I was always moving. Like every year I was in a different school. We stayed in Miami. We went from Miami Beach to Hialeah, back to Hialeah Gardens. Like we just kept hopping around like every year. And then eventually we went to the west side, to an area between Naples and Immokalee, where it's just like absolutely nothing over there on the West Coast. So that was around, I was like 14 years old when we made that move. But before that, everything was just hopping around Miami.
Yeah, just good times. But, growing up in that era, 80s, 90s, again, we had a lot of freedoms. Yeah. But I think we developed a set of street smarts on us growing up like that I think ended up really carrying us into the military. It kind of started setting the stage, I think. A lot of the people I interview, people I talk to, right, all the bros, seems like we had pretty similar upbringings. I mean, some of the guys, their folks stayed together and they had kind of a silver spoon life. But for the most part, it seems like a lot of us had, rough upbringings. We had to deal with some shit that we've tried to protect our kids from ever since, right? I mean, but okay, cool. So moving forward, how were you guys in high school then? What were you like in high school, Frank?
In high school, I was just I was a shit show all the way until like 11th grade, really.
Like gang stuff? Or?
No, not like gang stuff, just getting in a lot of trouble. And, we were always fighting. It was, we had like a bunch of friends, and all we wanted to do was just do like mixed martial arts and stuff. And then, that bled into the street, just getting in fights with other people out in the streets, chasing girls and all that. But that kind of lasted all the way to like the 11th grade. And then that's when I really figured out, I'm like, man, I got to get it together. I got to do something. My grades were horrible. And then that's when I really started to actually put an effort in, because I wanted to go to a tech school. And, they weren't going to accept me if my GPA was super low. So until that point, that's when I was like just all messed up, and it was the basic stuff. I wasn't into any gang related activity or doing a lot of bad stuff, but it was just not really caring about school. Like the classic not giving a crap about, an education, just chasing girls and hanging out with your friends,
I do know. Yeah. Do you remember what it was? I know you said it was 11th grade and it was like you had the realization that you weren't going to be able to go on to this tech school, but who brought that to your attention? Was it like a counselor or something that like pulled you in and had that come to Jesus meeting with you, or? I
kind of had it with myself, so this one time I was actually dating some girl, and we had it wasn't a career fair, it was like just one of those events where different schools come in and they have like the brochures, they have their little desk set up in the gym. And I saw this one school that they were doing aviation mechanics, and then that caught my attention. And I'm like, man, I really want to do that. So as soon as I applied for it, at this point I was in 10th grade. So when I applied for it, they were like, hey man, you need to step it up, right? Like if you don't get your grades right, you're not going to do it. So at that point is when I really started to think about it. Like it didn't click until that point. I was like, man, I'm not gonna make it, right? Like I'm gonna get out and I'm just not gonna have anything really going for me. I don't really have a plan. and then my grades just aren't good enough for me to actually even try, right? So at that point is when I had that come to Jesus. And, you know, the only reason that school accepted me was because I did get a little bit better with the grades, but I only had, you know, like half a year to try to get to that point. But I had one teacher that she helped me out. She wrote out a letter of recommendation, and she really helped me out with that. And that's when they accepted me with like a 2.0.
So it was that one teacher. So it wasn't for her.
I nailed it.
Nailed it.
So that teacher, yeah.
Yeah, it was that teacher, you know, and it's not that she was really like, you know, giving me the advice or just always talking like, Frankie, you gotta do good. Like, she was just awesome lady. I mean, every time I would skip class, I would end up going to her class and just hanging out with her. And she was like, she saw, she was like, all right, this kid's always, you know, messing around, not really doing good. But she saw that I guess I was a good kid, right? Like, she probably saw that I had some potential, and that she's like, I'm gonna help him out, you know. And that's how that worked out.
The teachers and that administration over there at the school, right? They
yeah.
Dude, if it wasn't for, you know, one of mine, right? Because I had one. It was a coach of mine, but yeah, it would change my life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
what
that
about
was,
you,
that was a
Ryan?
big turning point for sure.
What was high school like for you? Sports?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was very into sports, not so much school. I think I got Frankie beat on the grade point average. I think I was struggling for a 2.0, but probably a little under that. But no, sports. Yeah, I loved football, absolutely loved football, and was absolutely the worst player on the team, hands down. Wrestling was okay. I did it because our town was a huge wrestling town, but I actually was pretty natural at wrestling and the extreme opposite at football. But my priorities were this. So I had my whole career laid out. I was like, all right, so I'm going to come from this town of 1,100 people. I'm going to go first. I'm going to play for the Oregon Ducks. Then I'm going to get drafted by the Seahawks. And then I'm going to finish up my career in the NFL, and then I'll figure out from there. What I forgot to take into account was I sucked extremely bad.
And had horrible grades.
Extremely, and so slow, no field vision, hit everybody on the field but the person with the ball, fumbled more times than anybody in a game, racked up more penalty yards than the team would rack up actual positive yardage. So not what you would call college material. And then wrestling, I just did it because I enjoy contact sports and stuff like that, but I never took it seriously. And coaches and everybody was like, you really need to, like, there's something here, you know, you can do really well. You just need to give it like maybe 10% effort, because right now you just kind of show up. And, you know, I went to state and stuff like that, but I never really took it serious at all, because I had no real vision of what I wanted to do outside of high school, except for finish up high school. And then, you know, I had no idea. And my dad, he basically told me, he was like, you know, I think this was junior year of high school, maybe senior, when you take the ASVAB test or whatnot. And so I took the ASVAB test and everything. And my dad's like, yeah, you need to start figuring out what you're going to do, because you can't stay here. If I let you stay here, then you're going to pump gas at the gas station and be talking about, you know, your homecoming football game, which, you know, by the way, you guys lost. And you're going to be talking about that when you're 42 years old. He's like, you got to go out and do something. And I highly recommend the military, because let's face it, you're not college material. You're not what colleges are looking for. What do you got? A grade point average, 1.9, something like that. He's like, yeah, we got to beef your grades up so you can even graduate. And then, yeah, you need to join the military. You need to see the world. You need to do something bigger than yourself. And then after 4 years, if you want to get out, and then come back and figure out what you want to do. But, you know, you can't stay here. And so, you know, but high school for me was typical. I mean, we were dirt poor, and we'd moved around so much, and, you know, it's always being the outsider every place I go, because nobody knows you. You're not from that town. You're dirt poor. So, you fit in where you can, and it's usually with, like the druggies or something like that. But I wrestled and I played football and tried baseball, but I just don't like a really hard ball flying really fast past my face. No. I just was like, this is dumb. There's nothing to this at all. And then someone's like, you should run track to stay in shape. And I was like, yeah, the football coach said I'm really slow. So nah, it's just football and wrestling. Nice. And just being a shithead. So yeah, it's good.
Dude, we're 3 peas in a pod. I remember my senior year. So same thing. Football was my sport, and I told my dad. He asked what I was going to do when I grew up. I said, "Well, I'm going to go play in the NFL," and he goes, "Okay, well, good luck." And we never had a conversation about career after that. It was just like, "Well, Ryan's going to go play in the NFL," and I thought I was, and I was actually pretty good, but I never got big. I was 185-pound middle linebacker, which. That's too small to go play in Oregon, But anyway.
At least you weren't the opposite of good. I was the opposite of good.
But I played hockey. But I played hockey. And in hockey, I was the opposite of good. Penalties, penalty box, fights. Yeah. That's all I could do. I couldn't skate. I couldn't puck handle. And I couldn't shoot. I think in 3 seasons, somebody will call me out on this, but I think I had 3 total goals in 3 seasons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I started my sophomore year.
One every season. It's not that bad.
Par for the course. So I really sucked at hockey. So I'm with you on that. And then I wrestled in 8th grade, but I was done with it by high school because I was a smoker, and you couldn't go wrestle and smoke. So, but my senior year, man, my after we finished with football. My principal pulled me into her office and she's like, "All right, here's the deal. You're over 18. She's like, the state has already given us the money for you and football season's over. I don't need anything else from you." She's like, "If you miss 1 minute of one class, you will not graduate." Like, she hated me. She's like, "I'm not going to give you any slack at all. Like, you're done." Yeah. Because the thing was the deal. My football coaches were like our history teachers, right? Like So I didn't have to work extremely hard, and So anyway, so I was not looked highly upon by my school administration either, but I made it through. Was able to graduate, and I still remember the day I graduated. My principal grabs me and pulls me in and hugs me. She's like, "I knew you could do it," and I was like. It was horrible, man. Yeah. Senior ditch day, the only senior that was there, this guy. Yeah. Right? So I couldn't miss a freaking minute of class. Anyway, okay, so military, right? So your dad told you to join, thought that would be a good thing. And what about you, Frankie? How'd you end up in the military?
Yeah, so for me, the way it worked out, when I made it into that tech school, right? And did the aviation mechanics program. It was like 2 years. Got done with that a year after I graduated high school because I ended up graduating. I ended up doing my senior year online while I was in tech school, right? Okay. So ended up graduating from that. And now I'm starting to look for work, as a mechanic. And man, I'm looking like all over the U.S. and I couldn't find anything. Everybody was asking for experience. I'm like, man, how am I going to get experience? I just graduated, right? So the way that worked out was I got frustrated. I had, a few people talking about it. My stepdad brought it up. One of his friends, he was an old Marine, and he was like, "Yeah, man, try out the military." So that's when I started looking into it. But I wanted to join to be a mechanic, so I went straight into looking at the Air Force. Went into the recruiter, trying to look for the Air Force, but they're never there, right? The Air Force guys are never at the recruiter's office, man. But as I walk in, Army guy comes out, he's like, "Hey, man, we got airplanes too," right? And he got me good because I'm like, "Yeah, all right. What do you have exactly? What MOS is?" I mean, I didn't know anything about the military, right? I didn't come from a military back. My family, nobody in my family is in the military. So he starts talking to me about the 15 Echo program, which is you work on the shadow UAVs, right? So he's like, "Yeah, it's an aircraft, but it's a little drone," which it ended up being really good, right? Because I learned a ton, right? Going into all the avionics and all the technical stuff that I didn't learn, which I learned quite a bit in the aircraft mechanic course, but this one just really went into the weeds into avionics. But yeah, that's how he got me. Went down that route. So I just enlisted with the Army. But my first unit was with 10th Group, and then that's when I really started learning about the whole Green Beret, everything, because again, I didn't know anything about the military.
So you were in 10th group as
a UAS mechanic.
As a UAS mechanic. Okay, awesome. Yeah. And then Ryan, you kind of had you ended up in the Navy first, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I mean, my path's in the military. This is 97. This is Clinton era. And they're downsizing the military and restructuring and everything. And so after I took the ASVAB tests, you play the recruiter roulette. And the first recruiter I remember was the Air Force recruiter. And they looked at my test scores and he just pretty much was like, oof, yeah, you're not really Air Force material. Yeah. But if you have any smart friends, send them our way. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then the Army recruiter, the Army didn't need anybody at the time. Like I wanted to go into infantry, and it was like a year wait. It's like, well, I kind of want to leave now. And then the Marine recruiter, dude was just super angry guy. And he was like knife handing me, telling me I didn't have what it takes. And do I think I'm tough enough? And you shouldn't even try. I don't think you have what it takes. Do you? And I was like, well, if you don't think I have what it takes, I appreciate you saving me a lot of pain and hard lessons. Okay, cool. And then the Navy recruiter was like, he was like that dealer that sits outside of a pawn shop and you walk into the pawn shop with something you think's valuable. You really need the money. And the pawn shop's like, yeah, we're not buying that. So you walk out all defeated and he's like sitting at the corner with a toothpick in his mouth, like flipping a nickel or something. It's like, hey, you need some money? I can help you out. Well, Navy recruiter was kind of like that. And he was just like, hey, you want to see the world, go to exotic countries, see exotic women. And, I'm 18 years old. It's like, yeah.
Of course.
And he's like, have you ever seen, Top Gun with Tom Cruise or Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen? I said, yeah. He goes, that's all the Navy is. And I was like, oh, right. So joined the Navy. Did not fly F-14s, nor was I a Navy SEAL. But I did see the world. And I did, I got all that experience like my dad had wanted me to get in the beginning, and the Navy was the perfect place to do it in the mid-90s because there wasn't a lot going on at the time. I mean, yeah, you have the rise of terrorism that, the global war on terror is what we know today with, the bombing of the USS Cole when I was in, but, and it goes back before that. But so, yeah, I saw the world in 4 years. It was April 2001. I decided, all right, Navy was good. Just, it was real. It was fun, just not real fun. So I decided to get out and yeah, pursue a life of bartending at a casino in Washington State, which, lasted about, probably 2 years and then rejoined the military again.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I bet that was still fun though.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you got to think. I kind of followed Tom Cruise's path.
Yeah, it actually worked out really good.
Like we're both short. I was in the Navy. He was in the Navy. Well, on a movie, he was. He flew F-14s. He was a super cool guy. I was just a bosun's mate. He was a bartender in the movie
Cocktails. Was that before or after he was in the Navy?
I was a bartender in Ryan's real life movie. So yeah, it was. Not a very good bartender either. They were like, I'm glad you decided to join the military again. We were going to have a talk with you. It's like, oh, right.
Really good at serving beer, though. Like,
yeah, I can serve beer all day long. But
no mixing.
Yeah, no mixing drinks.
Rum and Coke. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
50-50. Yeah.
Right on. So you did your first 4, got to see a lot of the world. That's awesome, man. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite port that you stopped at?
I mean, we hit Australia a couple times. That's always a really good time, especially for younger Ryan Hendrickson, teenage Ryan Hendrickson. It was a really good time. And then, Singapore and I think Thailand and stuff like that. But we did a lot of time in the Persian Gulf. I ended up doing 2 cruises. When you're in the Navy station on the East Coast, they're called med cruises, and when you're on the West Coast, they're called Westpacks. but both times you end up in the Persian Gulf, because you got to do your tour there with, I could be wrong on it. I think it was Operation Southern Watch, at the time, where we're just basically prepared for, going back into, Iraq if Saddam Hussein decided to, mess around anymore or fire some more scuds at Israel or something like that. But the first ship I was on was an amphib, so bunch of Marines, and you just sit in the Persian Gulf and you just wait for something to kick off. And then the second ship I was on was a resupply ship, and you basically trail a carrier. And we were part of the rescue group. So if pilots go down or something like that, we, you would send out your rescue teams or your rescue swimmers to go and do that whole deal. So, but yeah, a lot of time in the Persian Gulf, some great memories and some great countries. I mean, 1998, I was in Romania, and they were still trying to figure out what Romania was from being a Soviet republic to an independent Romania. And it was a lot of fun, but yeah, no, I had a good time. It was a great experience. I could never go back and redo it now, but I'm really glad 18-year-old Ryan Hendrickson did it.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Good times back then.
Right.
What about you, Frank? So you say you ended up at 10th Group for your first duty station. Did you deploy with those guys?
No. So I was put on for several different deployments to Africa. But because as soon as I got there and I learned about the Green Beret, the whole Green Beret thing, I'm like, man, that is what I want to do. I quickly went to selection, right? I was probably there for about 8 months, and I went to selection. And then as soon as I got selected, I just went through, right?
So were you private when you got there?
Yeah.
So did you have to wait till you were in E4 to go to selection, or what was the deal with it?
No, so I got there as a private, but I was a E3, and then I got promoted to E4, and then that's when I went. I'm not sure if I had to wait because I was already in E4. But I needed to be there for about a year before I could go, right? And as soon as I got the chance, I went immediately. They were trying to send us to Libya, and I think it was Kenya around that time frame, because that was in 2012 when I went to selection, and that's when a lot of stuff was going on out in Libya, and 10th Group was potentially going to go do some things, so we were going to go help and do the UAS support. But it never happened, right? Like, we got fully prepared. It did all the things you had to do, but we just didn't get to go. And then we were going to go to Kenya. And then I think as soon as I went to selection is when the guys went to Kenya. It was either Kenya or Uganda. I can't remember where they went.
Yeah, they were spending a lot of time on that. What year was that, circa? You said around 2012?
Yeah, 2012.
Okay, so you went through the Q course starting 2012, and then you ended up
I'm sorry, that was 2011.
2011.
Yeah, because in 2012 is when I got to the Q course. Yeah.
And then you ended up getting 7th Group, right? Which is where you and Ryan met.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not to gloss over a lot of your career, Ryan, you wrote a book.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about your book for a second. Does that encompass your career, or what is the book specifically about for the viewers?
I mean, it encompasses my career, but more specifically what it's about is mental health. And the mental health journey I was on from, just different situations that I've been in my life through my childhood, and then stepping on an IED in Afghanistan, and then, having to go through that whole rehabilitation of having your life completely changed by, stepping on an explosive device, from being medically retired to fighting my way back on active duty to non-deployable to deploying back to Afghanistan 7 more times. But it's just, it's a book about, my journey, and it's very raw. I mean, it's not a war story. It's very raw, and it's about the mental health struggles that I've had throughout my life. And it's, my journey through, my mental health, struggles, and also through, redemption. And to where, to basically it was all way before Ukraine. And so it was basically the last chapter of the book ends after, I was retiring off of active duty and then heading back to Afghanistan as a contractor. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And I was pretty sure it encompassed a lot of that. I didn't want to ask you a bunch of questions that, the viewers can go and read your book. Cause obviously, I want them to go read that.
Yeah.
But you guys came together. Were you guys in Garrison when you met, or where did you guys meet?
On the same team.
Yeah.
On the same team. So was, talk me through that. So you guys both got 7th group at the same time, or
no?
Frankie came to your team.
Yeah. I was already. I graduated the Q course February of 2010.
Okay.
So yeah, by the time Frankie got there, we were just coming off of our second deployment to Afghanistan. So we were coming back from our 2012 trip, and then Frankie came to the team. And we started doing all of our South Central America stuff together, and then back to Afghanistan multiple times, either on the same team or the same company together back to Afghanistan. And I would always jump over to their team when I was on the B team for my year. I guess you do a year on the B team, something like that. When we were in Afghanistan, that was the majority of my time on the B team. And because we were so undermanned, I just spent that entire trip jumping around team to team to team that needed a Charlie, or some dumbass that wants to be in the front with a detector clearing for IEDs. So,
yeah. Somehow we always ended up on the same spot. Like even if we weren't on the same team, we'll go out somewhere and we'll naturally just end up in the same op or something.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Naturally, it just always happened that way. Yeah.
So circa 2012 is when you guys linked up together. You said you did some South America deployments together and then back to Afghanistan. Ryan, you said you did how many trips to Afghanistan?
A total of 8, but it was 6 as a Green Beret and 2 as a contractor.
And then Frankie,
I had 3.
You had 3,
yeah.
And then South America, we don't hear a lot about, right? And, talking to 7th group guys, it's generally still Afghanistan, Iraq. Those are still a lot of the stories. But down in South America, anything interesting down there that you guys would want to talk about, especially in light of what recently happened in Venezuela, right? Did that speak to you guys when that thing went down?
I mean, it didn't really speak to me. I knew who was pulling the strings in the background because of our experience in South Central America. It's like, and how they were able, just with like PE, preparation of the environment. Like they didn't just fly into Venezuela and conduct this operation. They've been preparing the environment for a while. So, no, for me, it was more just kind of like I could see everything that I knew about from my time in group. I could see that all working in the shadows somehow in one way or another. Probably not kinetically, but there's, from PE all the way to logistics and everything else to make that happen. I was just kind of like, all right, I see how this went down. So.
Yeah. It was definitely something that was bound to happen,
Now, what do you think, obviously the reports that came back from I guess it was a member on the ground of the guard force, right? And his account of that whole op, I'm sure you guys were able to read that. I mean, do you think there was any fabrication in there, or, does that sound pretty legit to y'all?
I mean, it's hard to really know exactly what happened, but it just on the few things that I've read, it sounds something that is realistic, right? At least with me, with my experience, one of the things that, we're not sure if it exactly happened to me, right? With the way it all worked out, because there's no way to really prove it. But during my last deployment, I was hit with something that we call Havana syndrome. And again, there's no confirmation on this, but I experienced something very similar. So the fact that these guys are talking about that, there's a chance that it actually happened,
So we're talking about energy weapons, right? Like a sonic weapon, something that can't be seen or necessarily heard, right? It's like a frequency maybe that you were hit with. How would you explain like Havana syndrome? Like Havana syndrome, is that the symptoms that come from?
So they call it Havana syndrome, and they recently changed the name to anomalous health incident. But they call it Havana syndrome because one of the first situations happened in Havana back in like 2016, I think it was. And it happened in Havana to some of the folks working in the embassy. So they just started labeling it Havana syndrome. But it's just, it's a bunch of symptoms all roll into one. A lot of like TBI stuff, vertigo. It doesn't really fall under one category. It could be a wide variety of things because some people, it just affects them differently. And I don't think the medical community really knows exactly what happens with it. At least that's what what I experienced when I was going through all of my medical stuff, because nobody could really tell me anything about it, right? So not a whole lot of information on it as far as professionals go, right? But what they think it is just a very some type of weapon with a high frequency that just, I don't know, it does something, right? Completely gets you out of whack, you know, whether it's your brain, different organs, or whatever. Yeah. Like I don't even know exactly how to explain it because I don't know much about it, even though it potentially happened to me. You know, I try to look into it, but it's just there's no way to get that much info on it, you know.
Somehow it disrupts the input-output signal or something, right? I mean, I think they talked about it in the Matrix a little bit, right? Where, you know, they're looking for the core signal. I don't know, but...
It's possible. It's something like that.
So the symptoms are very similar to TBI related, right? So blasts and concussions. So how are they treating those symptoms?
So what they did to me was, I just went to a lot of different TBI clinics. I went to the Hendrickson clinic over here at Eglin Air Force Base. I was an outpatient with them for like about a year. I went to Johns Hopkins and Walter Reed. And they just did just regular type of TBI stuff, right? Like the rehab type of things that they would normally do for TBI. And then just also like some stress exposure to try and get you back to, I don't know, where you were before the incident. But I don't think they even know, you know, how to handle it, right? Because again, they don't have that much information. So everything just went back to dealing with it like if it was traumatic brain injury.
Okay. Yeah. So, and again, we're talking about basically symptoms that, you know, this guy on the ground was talking about having, right? He felt like he was concussed, he was bleeding from the nose, so he felt like he, you know, got hit with something. Did you have, when you got hit, did you have that same kind of reaction? Was it instantaneous or was it something that came on over time?
No, it was instant. It was instant. I think I actually got hit twice. The first one, it was mild. Maybe they missed me or something like that. But I started feeling something. I'm like, man, this is weird. Like, and I thought it was just me getting sick or something, right? It was mild, but definitely I felt something was wrong. On the second time, or maybe there was just nothing wrong and I was just feeling weird, right? But on the time where for sure I felt something, it was instant, right? And I went straight into having vertigo. It's very hard for me to explain because when it happened, I went straight into survival mode where I was just trying to make sure that I didn't die because I felt like I was going to just collapse and I was out. But I had vertigo. My heart was racing and it was weird because it would just go up and down, right? But it wasn't like normal. Right, where I'm just like, okay, I'm very nervous or I'm exhausted or something like that, where I'm just pounding. It would climb up and then come down and then climb up and come down. And this lasted for several hours. I would feel this like electrical jolt, right? Again, it's weird to explain, but it was like electricity in my whole body, kind of starting from the center and just going everywhere, right? And it was actually very similar to something that, well, I don't know if everybody experienced this, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit, but I felt it during my time in Tijuana when I went through that medical treatment that we spoke about with the Ibogaine, and it would just take over my whole body, right? And that whole time, I'm just like trying not to pass out. I'm feeling dizzy, very lightheaded. All the light in the room would just dim, kind of go to nothing, or like just a little bit, and then it kind of come back. And I was just going back and forth. That was like what I felt like immediately. And I heard something pretty loud. It wasn't. It wasn't like, because I've heard some of the videos of other people talking about how they hear like a loud beep or something like that. For me, it was more like if somebody shot something next to me, but it wasn't that loud. It was that like, you know how when you get that deafening feeling, right? It just went boom, kind of everything went on one side. And what else? Yeah, it was horrible. I really can't put it all into words, because whenever that happened, like I kind of just focused on trying not to collapse. Like I just kept pacing around the room.
What were you doing when you got hit with this?
So when this happened to me, I was actually at my apartment. So I was deployed when this happened, during my second to last deployment, and I was just hanging out in my room. It was late. It was, I don't remember what time it was. It was probably 9 o'clock. Yeah, I was alone. During that time frame, I was doing deployments where I go alone. And yeah, I had just got back from work, right? I went out and I did some stuff. I was gone for about 2 weeks, and then I just got back to my apartment. And then that's when it happened.
That's crazy. I mean,
But I didn't bleed from the nose, right? Like that guy that was talking on, or that gave his account, that security guard, I didn't bleed from the nose.
Headache though right away?
So at that moment, I don't remember having a headache. Afterwards, yeah. Okay. Right, and I couldn't sleep. After that, I could not sleep. I kept hearing this noise that just never went away. Kind of sounded like a weird scratchy sound in the back. Like it felt like real deep in my brain or in the back of my skull. Kind of like if you were to scratch the wall right now, right? Like that. That just never went away. All the lights in the room would flicker, right? So like if I close my eyes and open it, as soon as I open my eyes, all the lights would go like this. It was just a wide variety of things that just constantly stuck afterwards. Like it was afterwards. Like I just really wouldn't sleep. That was halfway through the deployment, and I did not sleep anything pretty much for the rest of that deployment. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't bring it up to anybody. I didn't talk to anybody about it at the embassy or anything like that, at their clinic. So I was just trying to take care of it myself. Right?
Why didn't you bring it up?
Well, I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was just, I have no idea. I think I was just getting sick or something, or very weird.
You got your hands on some bad street food.
Bro, I don't know what happened, right? Yeah. And I was just like, man, I'm just being a little bitch. I gotta.
Well, even as adults, right? Like when something's happening to us that we've never experienced before, we've never heard of before, it's a scary feeling, right? And not to go back to our childhoods, but when we were kids and something would happen to us that wasn't supposed to happen, right? An adult would do something that they shouldn't have done, right? And not to go down those holes, but the reason we didn't say anything about it is because we didn't know how to deal with it. We were scared to deal with it, right? Like, and so I'm just curious as to like how long did you go? How long did you let this go on before you actually talked to somebody about it?
I probably waited about 8 months, man.
You lived with that?
Because I had 3 months left on that deployment, and I had a lot of things to do. Again, I was the only guy working this platform or deployment, and I had to move on to a different country and do more stuff. So I mean, I just started drinking a lot, and I drowned everything with alcohol.
Yeah,
and that actually helped me, I think, finish everything. And I still did a great job. I'm really proud of the fact that I was able to complete all that, feeling the way I was feeling. But of course, like I was drinking heavy every day. That made me feel kind of better. It actually made things worse, way worse. But I felt like I could still do stuff, right? Because if not, I wasn't going to do shit.
It worked until it didn't.
Exactly. Yeah. It worked until it didn't, until I got home. And then that's when everything started really going downhill real bad. I don't know what was the difference, right? Like when I got home, it actually got worse when I got home, right? Because everything that I explained to you before of that initial incident, that experience, I kept experiencing that same thing again, like multiple times a week. It would just hit me, right? And I mean, it wasn't a panic attack. That's one of the things I was getting me pretty upset whenever I started talking to the doctors. Like, oh, you're just having panic attacks. I'm like, it's not a panic attack.
Your heart rate just starts going through.
Yeah, no, I am not having a panic attack. I mean, after a while, because again, I kept having those symptoms, and it literally felt like I was gonna die every time, and it stayed like that for about 4 years. Like I think at year 4 is when all that started going away because of all the rehab I've been doing, all the things I've been trying to do to get better. But you know, constantly throughout the week. And then after I would have one of those episodes that was very similar to that first night, I would have this weird period where I'm just completely out of it, right? That I would just, I don't know, like I had to recover. Like if I wanted to go for a run, I felt like I've never ran before in my life, right? Like I was just completely out of it mentally, physically. I had no cardio, like I don't really know exactly what was going on, but I was just messed up completely. And then I would still go out and walks and try and work out, and that would kind of make me better. And then eventually I'd have another one of those episodes from that night. And then, like, I don't know why, it just kept happening again and again but anyways, to answer your question, I kind of went off track. After about 8 months from that incident is when I finally brought it up to somebody. You know, when I got back home, I told my wife, I didn't tell her exactly what happened, but I told her, like, hey, you know, I'm going through some stuff. Like, don't worry, I'm not mad at you because I know you see that I'm acting weird as hell. I don't have any issues with you. It's just I'm going through something and I don't even know how to explain. I just need some time to recover from this. So she understood. But when I, about 5 months from when I got back from that deployment, they put me on some training event. It was some medical stuff that we had to do in Fort Bragg. And I went over there with my team. And there I was like, it was like my breaking point, my other breaking point, I guess. And that's when I told my team, so I was like, hey, man, like there's something seriously wrong with me. I really got to get checked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, with your injury, so what we just talked about, Frankie doesn't know what happened there, but he's obviously having all these symptoms.
I know what happened. He got hit with some sort of directional frequency. I mean, for a lot of the listeners out there, we don't know half of the capabilities of modern weapons. So you have the CCP, which definitely has weapon systems that can do things like what Frankie's talking about, incapacitate somebody with just directional waves or frequency waves or something like that. We have that capability. You're hearing accounts from Venezuela, whether they're fabricated or not, I don't know. But the Russians have that same capability. They've been studying since the 40s and probably even before that. Well, no, probably since the 40s. A lot of the German scientists and whatnot, they've been studying how to affect the central nervous system of human beings and how to weaponize that. Same thing. I mean, same exact thing with when we're talking about, COVID or something like that. You know, I mean, how to weaponize these kind of things. And so, yeah, although we don't know exactly what Frankie got hit with, he got hit with a weapon system for sure. And I mean, I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not sitting next to Xi Jinping and asking him, but it probably came from the Chinese, in my opinion. But yeah,
one of the two, right?
Yeah, he definitely got hit with some sort of weapon system that is being used by other countries, that can be blessed off on, as in right now with people saying like, oh, well, we don't really know what it was. Bring this up on Capitol Hill and see the response you get. You'll be laughed out of the room probably, you know, but the technology is out there.
Yeah.
And 50% of our weapon technology, public doesn't know about it for a good reason, because we don't want our adversaries to know about it either.
That's right.
But no, he got hit by something, for sure. And so, yeah, it's just, and it's, and the cover up on it is insane, because here's a guy that, you know, was wounded by, a device used from an adversary, whether it's Russia or the CCP or one of their proxies. And, you're being told you're having a fucking panic attack.
Right.
It's like, no, you guys know fair well, you know, obviously it's not as studied, but you guys know that it's not a panic attack. And and it just goes back to some of the issues that, you know, people are having with the VA. It's like, well, here's a prescription.
Yep. If I can name it, then I can give you a prescription for it.
Yeah, here's a prescription. And it's like, well, I don't want to be on any pills. Well, that's the only way. Well, it's not actually the only way. But, you know, I mean, Ibogaine, you know, what is it? Class 5 narcotic or whatever?
Class 3.
Class 3 narcotic and all this other stuff. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, there are ways to help you, but, and this is Ryan Hendrickson's humble, rednecky opinion. We have ways that there are holistic ways of helping people that does not equate getting people hooked on psychotropic or narcotic type drugs, but it doesn't fit the fourth branch of the government, which is deep state, which I firmly believe Big Pharma is a part of it.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion. Not to go off on Frankie, not to continue with Frankie's message, but I firmly believe he got hit with something from an adversary, and I firmly believe that as long as he doesn't make any noise about it, everybody is going to be just happy, because they don't want people knowing that this is the stuff that's targeting embassies. This is the stuff that, yeah. And so, and again, this is my humble, uneducated opinion. And they were all allegedly targeting embassies, and allegedly they have these weapon systems. That keeps me from getting sued. So allegedly.
And there's a disclaimer at the beginning of this whole video. So yeah, these are our opinions, right?
Yep.
So we're not experts in this field, but Frankie is a receiving end in the field. So when we talk about, okay, so TBI related symptoms is ultimately what you felt. Did you, beyond the TBI related symptoms, was there anything else physiologically that you felt like you were dealing with? Any of the depression or like the PTSD related symptoms? Were you having probably a lot of that stuff? I would guess, right?
Oh yeah, man. It was a combination of everything, right? So, I mean, one of the things I failed to mention with that as well was like my whole back had a huge rash the next day, where I noticed it the next day.
So there was physical evidence.
There was physical evidence. Okay. And again, like I was just so out of it. I definitely should have brought it up, man, but I didn't. That it probably would have helped me out with a few things down the line, right? But I just kept it to myself. But after that, I had a ton of, you know, PTS like, you know, symptoms afterwards, mainly because of the medical issue itself. Like, so it was like PTS towards what was happening to me.
Sure.
Right. Because every single time that I would experience these episodes, I would think I'm going to go down. Right. And I'm just trying to, and then no doctor could tell me anything about what's going on. So I'm like, dude, I'm going to die at any moment now. And it's been like this for like 3-4 years. So I don't know what's going on with me. Like I'm gonna drop at any moment, and I don't know how to fix it, because, you know, the doctors we trust what they're trying to tell us. They don't know what to say. They're just like, hey man, just go do some group therapy, right?
Take these pills.
Yeah, take these pills, which, you know, and they were giving me all kinds of stuff. I had a ton of medications, which I didn't take any of them, because I actually tried some of them, but they were making things worse, right? It felt like they were making things worse. So I definitely had a lot of, you know, different PTS things. I was extremely paranoid, just because of what I was doing while I was deployed, and then what happened, right? Because I wasn't connecting the dots with Havana syndrome, but as soon as I got back and I told my team sergeant, he was the one that was like, hey man, you know, it could potentially be this. You know, one thing I forgot to mention before, one of the individuals that we were working with, you know, out of the embassy, that individual got hit as well. And that individual disappeared like a month or 2 weeks afterwards.
You told me there was other people.
Yeah,
it wasn't just you. There was other people.
There was another individual that got hit with it within the same time frame, but that individual disappeared. Like I didn't have any contact with her.
Well, maybe she'll see this. Reach out to Frankie. You guys got stuff to talk about.
Yeah. So I forgot where I was going with this. Yeah. So like the PTS was definitely an issue because of that. The paranoia, because of who, once I started connecting the dots, and I'm like, okay, it could definitely be that. I was extremely paranoid everywhere I was. Make sure I wasn't being followed or thinking people were in my backyard. Like I have like 6 acres of pretty dense vegetation. So at nighttime, I go out to feed my chickens. I'm walking around the woods in the dark quietly with my gun, thinking people are back there. So I had a lot of those issues that, came with it. Right. And it wasn't bad before that. Right. Like I definitely had some stuff that I was dealing with from my time in Afghanistan, but in my opinion, it was healthy. Right. It made me better at my job, whatever PTS like stuff, I might have been dealing with, but it wasn't
like hypervigilance.
I was paying
attention.
Exactly. I was paying attention to stuff. Whenever I would deploy again, I was on it. Nothing was going to happen. I'm going to take care of my guys to the left and right. And to me, that wasn't a problem. Yeah. Maybe I was drinking too much, but whatever. But all the, some anger here and there, but I was managing, I was doing fine. It's like when this happened, everything just went haywire. Like I wasn't able to control it anymore. It all just, a bunch of old stuff started coming out as soon as that happened. In addition to me dealing with that incident, any trauma that happened from that incident, a bunch of other stuff was just amplified, right? Started having a ton of like digestive issues that I wasn't having before. Like I always had like some, which is normal, right? You go to Afghanistan, you eat one of those meals that you get on the street, you're gonna have a fever that first night, right? Which, which is we all miss and love, right? But I started having a lot of stomach issues, right? Like any little thing would completely mess me up. What else started happening? It was a while. I got it all written down. I can't remember everything. My amnesia was messed up. My amnesia was messed up. I had really bad amnesia after that.
Well, and also your extreme sensitivity to alcohol after that, because you and I before that incident happened to you, I mean, you and I have burned it down a few times.
Oh yeah,
and now like the extreme sensitivity to alcohol you have.
Yeah. No, right now if I were to drink, well, I don't know right now, but during this time frame, if I were to drink, I'll definitely have some issues, and I'll be up all night. Like I just wouldn't, not because I'm like raging and ready to go. I would not be able to fall asleep if I wanted to at all, just because of the sensitivity of that. And that's one of the things that I read about. I either read about it or I was talking to somebody that went out to some of these different agencies out in the DC area and talking about or asking about, this weapon. And they were saying that one of the things that it could potentially do, or we think that it might do, is that you got your different organs and they all run on, and again, I have no idea if this is accurate, but all the organs run on a different frequency, right? And then that weapon knocks it out of that frequency.
Knocks it out of balance.
Knocks it out of balance or something. Or not that it knocks it out of frequency, but maybe it just disrupts that frequency. I think you were kind of saying that before.
Kind of like you've heard of AFib, right? And then to get your heart out of AFib, they hit it again, right? And it disrupts that, almost like that carrier signal.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like to me, as opposed to what we would imagine like microwaving, right? Like you're in a microwave, like cook somebody from the inside out. It almost seems like it's hitting them with a difference in frequency that's knocking them around.
Yeah.
Or knocking them off their center. That's the way I understand it. But it's definitely the symptoms being so close to TBIs and PTS, which when we start talking about, the remedies or what we've done, what you've done specifically and what you've done, Ryan, just along the way, because again, trying to help guys get through, as they find themselves dealing with some of these symptoms and some of these things. It's like, what have you done that's been working for you? And a lot of guys are talking about the ketamine, and they're talking about the psilocybins and things like that to try to help their a lot of it's the depressions, right? It seems like when you start talking about the psilocybins, guys are more on the depressed, almost. We were talking about it a little before, but like, you know, some of the imposter syndrome stuff, some of the moral, I guess, moral traumas that people come back from. But what are your guys' thoughts on what's working? What are you hearing, talking to your bros, and what's working for you?
I mean, as far as what's working, I mean, I don't think there's a good answer for that, because we still have an extremely high, a critically high suicide rate amongst veterans. So what's working, I would say right now, is nothing. There are options. And so like right now, when you have plant-based medicine, Ibogaine, 5-MeO DMT, stuff like that, this, you know, I can't speak educatedly about it. I went through, the program at Ambio Life, but, you know, something that's going to rewire or reset, not rewire, but reset. So what we were just talking about, like your body runs off of frequencies or algorithms. I don't know, but something that's going to reset it back to a base level. And then through counseling and positive support, and actually surrounding yourself with good things, instead of the violence and everything like that, that led you to the point to where you needed to seek that type of help. But Ibogaine, 5-MeO DMT, this is the experience I have, so I'm talking about it, but it breaks you down to your base level again, and then it's up to you. You have to start to build yourself back up with the resources that are out there. And there's tons of resources as far as counseling and follow on plant-based options and stuff like that. But a lot of this, there's a couple reasons why we have a crisis, a veteran mental health crisis, the way we do. And in my opinion, the first reason is something that none of us can control, but we're all a part of. And so for, you know, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, that is a major trigger point for a lot of veterans out there. How things were handled, how things were conducted, stuff like that. Okay. So you have this trigger point right there. And then you also have, the military is really good at taking care of their people while you're in the military. When you go to get out of the military, they do a decent job at, hey, here's how to write a resume. Hey, come to this job fair, check out all these opportunities you have. Great. Amazing. What we haven't figured out in the military yet is, how do I take you from OEF, OIF, where I am sending you to Afghanistan 9, 10, 11, 12, 18 months at a time, or Iraq. Then you're coming back home 6 months to a year. But that entire time you're getting ready for that next push to Afghanistan. So you're never turned off. Right. You're always either in the fight or you're preparing for the fight, and then you're back in the fight, then you're preparing for the fight. And my entire time in 7th Group, I was living for the next deployment to Afghanistan. It was always about, I got to get back to Afghanistan where shit makes sense, where I understand it. And this is where I am at my best. Right. And every time I'm home, all I'm doing is preparing for that next trip. I can't get in trouble because I don't want to be kicked off for the next trip. I got to make sure I do this, this, and this. Everything revolves around that next deployment to Afghanistan, that next time I can get into combat and I can get that rush again, that feeling again. Well, then when we go to get out, you know, the military took really good care of us, at least in my experience. I was taken very good care of in the military. And I think it's called TAPS, something like that. When you go to get out, you go through your week or 2 weeks of, hey, here's how to do a resume. Here's how to, you know, apply online and all this other stuff. Okay, great. Here's job opportunities. And now you're out. DD-214 and the rush of being, quote unquote, free from the federal government lasts about 4 to 6 months. And then, but during that 4 to 6 months, you're still keeping in touch, with your boys, with your friends, with your family that you created, especially on an ODA team. You're still keeping in touch with the guys. Hey, how's everybody doing? But then as life continues on, there is no way you can stop the separation that happens, because these guys are continuing to go on deployments. They're continuing to, hey, I need to deal with my family life. I got deployments here. So now all of a sudden conversations become more sparse. And now that veteran, he's retired or he got out, he's out and he's trying to figure things out. Maybe he has a job, but he's trying to go through the mental minefields of now being out of that life. And so social media hasn't helped it out at all, because you can get on there and it's like, oh, wow, these guys are doing this here. And wow, that looks awesome here. Man, I miss those days. Every single veteran says they miss the camaraderie. They miss the brotherhood. They miss deploying. And so as you're out and you're trying to figure all this out, whether or not you have this successful life going on for you, in your mind, you're always thinking about what you had. I used to work at this level and now I'm here. That's right. And so now you're finding yourself that you don't have the same purpose that you used to have. And what I feel that what is leading to the PTS and PTSD and suicide crisis starts with lack of purpose from the service that they once did, and how to get that purpose back, and how to remotivate that veteran for this new life, because so many people they're still stuck in what we did on active duty. And I'm speaking from experience here, not from a Dr. Phil episode, but the lack of purpose is what's driving people to try to recreate what they had, whether it's high risk activity or drinking or whatever it is. They're trying to recreate that rush, that adrenaline of combat, but it's gone. Like your life has moved on. And then you start to get to a point in your life where you're insufferable to be around. You suffocate everybody around you because you demand everybody knows what you've been through. And when they can't, you push people away from you, and nobody's going to know, because they weren't there. And even if they were there, they're not you. But then once you've pushed everybody away from you because it's so hard to be around you, now you're alone. And that's when really bad shit happens with veterans. And so, in my opinion, the military does a very good job up into the point of the mental health of the veteran leaving the military. The other issue is veterans, and I've seen this. Veterans are expected things to be done for them for what for the job they did for the United States, for the protection, the safety of our citizens, and everything like that. And I've talked to many people where it's like, well, they should be doing this for me. And it's like, well, no. Like, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand the entitlement that you think you deserve, but this is you. You have to take care of yourself first. You have to want to get better. You have to want to heal yourself. You have to want to fill in all those blanks. But there's a lot of veterans, and it's very unfortunate, and it's leading to a lot of the suicides, that they want it to be done for them because of what they did or what they think they did when they were on active duty. And that's that's the tough love part, because I was that guy. Yeah. Well, you fucking owe me. I stepped on a IED. I've had my leg blown off, died twice on an operating table. You owe me. Nobody owes you shit. Nobody. You have to take control of your own life. And there are a ton of tools out there. All three of us went through one extremely powerful tool, Ibogaine, and 5-MeO DMT through Ambio Life. Extremely powerful tool. But nobody grabbed me and drugged me there. I had to make this happen. This had to be on me. I had to be willing to go through this because I wanted to heal myself. I wanted to get better mentally and physically and emotionally and spiritually. Like, I wanted all this. But the problem is once people get to a certain level of despair and depression and hopelessness, they give up, and there's nothing you can do to help them. You try so hard and you just pound your head against a wall like, please come with me. You have to take control over your own life and your own mental health and well-being. And that's when doors start to open up for you, is when you take control and you get active in your own recovery, your own journey. But you can't, people can't make you do, or people aren't going to, you're not going to get handed everything right to your doorstep on your pillow. And all you have to do is basically roll over and breathe and everything's good. Mm-mm. It's a hard road, and it's a road that we signed up for. The military is a life of servitude. You are a servant to the people of the United States of America. And as a servant, you go to foreign countries and you do really bad things to people that want to hurt Americans. But this is a life of servitude, and you chose this life. Now you have to choose to help yourself through the tons of organizations out there that are there. But you have to make that choice to get better. And so that, I actually have no idea where we were going with this, but that's like, I think I gave 3 points there. That's my 3 points. And I talk to veterans about it all the time. I've been tore up on the comment section. Well, you don't know, because it's like, I'm talking through my experience, my experience of digging a victimized hole for myself that almost led to me being one of the 22 a day. Very close. And I had to pull myself together because my dad told me, he's like, you're at a fork in the road right now. I'm laying in the hospital bed and I'm just like, my life is over. And he's like, if you want it to be, yes, it is. But you're at a fork in the road. And he said, you have two choices. He said, you can, number one, you can continue to let this injury become who you are. And this is what's going to happen. First of all, the entitlement aspect of what you think you deserve and what you think you're owed because what you think you did for the American people. You're going to be so entitled and you're going to try and force this on people. And then people are going to try to be, their patriotic self. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you've done. But that's not going to be enough. And when you become so insufferable, you're going to push everybody away from you. And then you're going to be alone. And once you're alone, you're going to get on something that's going to numb the pain, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is. And he said, and then after that, he said, you're probably going to kill yourself and be one of 22 a day. He said, because that's where this path leads. Or you can use this experience, as painful and as dark as it is right now, you can use this experience to build yourself up, to make yourself stronger, but don't do it for you. Build yourself up, make yourself stronger so you can use this experience to help other people. He said, that is the hardest path, but it's the path that's going to save your life. You have to do it or else I'm going to lose a son to suicide. It's just win. And so that's what got me kind of moving in the right direction. I'm a human being. I've fallen flat on my face more times than I've probably stood straight up. But that's what got me moving in the right direction, because I am speaking to people out of experience. I had dug a hole out of self-pity and victimization for what I thought I was owed and what I thought I deserved, that I literally had my line in the sand. And if things got any worse than that, I knew what I was going to do. I was going to kill myself. And that's how I was coping, was if it gets any worse than this, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Super dangerous mindset to have. And it takes it takes some of the best from us through suicide. And we see it today. Everybody, majority of guys in the regiment, all know somebody personally that has committed suicide. Think about that. For that to be the case, that's a big number of people that have committed suicide. But those are the facts. losing more brothers to suicide than combat, we got an issue. So,
yeah. Man, you absolutely made a lot of good points in that, and just kind of hit on a couple of them real quick, right? So for the guys and gals at home, right? I was talking to two bros earlier today, and it's like, for some reason, I can't tell you that I'm struggling, but I know you would help me, but I just don't want to add that to your plate, right? It's like, I don't want to add on to what Frankie's got going on, what Ryan's got going on. So I'll just keep it to myself, and I'll just continue to let my blood boil. And then you talked about, those the citizens out there that really are trying to be patriotic. They really do care that you serve for them. They're trying to thank you for your service, and you're just and so you're turning people away. And I think a lot of us end up going through that. And you're right, man. It's a slippery slope. You start pushing people away that are trying to help you, and then the ones that are trying, they're not doing it the right way. And then when you do ask for help, if you don't get, like, if you don't ask the right way, or that person doesn't help you out the right way, now you're going down that road of ending it all, right?
Well, the issue is the entitlement aspect. Right. The entitlement void is an impossible void to fill, and we have an entitlement crisis in our country right now. Look at the news. Look, every time something happens that somebody doesn't like, they become entitled and victimized by this outcome, and then they take to the streets and they do what they do, because they're entitled to what they feel they deserve just for waking up and breathing air, and nobody owes you shit. Nobody is owed anything in life. You have to work for it. But that entitlement void is impossible to fill. So as you're saying, like, people, they're not saying the right things, or they don't know how to, to comfort you the right ways. It's because of the entitlement you feel of what you feel you are deserved. And you can't ever fill that entitlement void. It is impossible. I mean, there's no words, there's no nothing that can fill an entitlement void. Only you can fill that entitlement void, and that's through a higher purpose and service, of something bigger than yourself, a belief in something bigger than yourself. That's what fills that entitlement void. And also the reality check that nobody goes home and fucking thinks about you at night.
That's a hard pill to swallow. It just is, because I know when it was time to retire, right? I wouldn't walk away from the job because nobody else can do this like me, right? Like, and so, yeah, going back to what you're saying, right? It's that entitlement and that victim mentality, right? A lot of people get victimized through, I guess, through this. They end up on that victim role of, I'm owed this, and why aren't people reaching out to me, right? I'm hurting right now. Why aren't people reaching out? And
the whole time people are reaching out.
But they're not doing it the right way.
Right.
They're not doing it the way I want them to.
But they're not doing it the way I want them to, or I feel I deserve. They are reaching out. But in the end, I mean, you're very basic level stuff. If you're not feeding me, financing me, or fucking me, I'm sorry. I have a life to live as well.
Right. I
have to take care of my family. I have my own worries, you're not the center of my attention. People don't go home at night and think about Ryan Hendrickson. Here's the facts. So the very raw fact of the matter is, you have to get over yourself and understand you are a part of something. But you have to find a purpose that's bigger than yourself and a belief that's bigger than yourself, or else you'll never get over yourself, because you're always so focused on you and what you think you deserve or need, and not focused on something higher or bigger than you. And that all comes with, you got to get over yourself. I had to. It almost killed me. But I had to get over myself and understand that before I could move on. Yeah, because there is no magic pill. There is no button that someone can push and you're good to go. No, it is extremely, extremely hard work. Easy? Victimization and entitlement. Super easy. Yeah. That's the reason why we have a huge issue with it today in today's society. Victimization, entitlement, extremely easy. Ownership, taking control, doing something that's bigger than yourself, helping others, that's hard. That's a super hard life. But it's fulfilling. It's rewarding. Yeah.
No, that's right. So we're kind of talking about some ego stuff, right? Like we got to get over our own egos in a lot of ways. And so I started hearing a term, ego death, right? And it was related to the medicine that we were talking about earlier, the Ibogaine and the 5-MeO DMT. And I saw a podcast on it. And, I was struggling with my mental health. I was struggling with myself for a lot of reasons that I won't go into right now. But ultimately, alcohol was my means to an end, and I overdid it. And until I got rid of that stuff, there was really no fixing it, right? But through my journey and through the podcast that I watched, I reached out and was able to go down to Ambio and go through that Ibogaine 5-MeO journey. And, I was looking for that ego death when I went down there. Like I'd already kind of known that I was getting in my own way of everything. And it was because of the stuff that you're talking about, Ryan, that the people that are reaching out, they're not reaching out the right way. They're not, they don't care about me the way I think they should care about me, whatever that. But at the end of the day, it was a lot of woe is me. And how do you get over that? Because when you are stuck there and you are feeling that way, how do you get over it? Is like you said, there's no pill, there's no snap of the fingers,
and it's not instantaneous. It's hard work.
It's going to take work, right? So part of that work, part of that journey for me was going down to Ambio and doing the Ibogaine. But I'd done some other things prior to doing that, and nothing really seemed to work for me. It wasn't until I got rid of all the medications and really started going to a more natural, plant-based, of course. But it seems like I couldn't clear my head while I had the other medications in there. And not unlike you guys, when I retired, I was handed bags of medicine that this is what you're going to take for the rest of your life. Congratulations, right? Like these are your pills. And to me, that hit me hard, right? When it's like, wait, I'm gonna have to take this for the rest of my life to just be somewhat normal. But it wasn't until I got rid of all those things that I was able to really start to lose that ego, start to be okay with the Ryan of 45 to 48, right? These last 3 years. Because before that, I was trying to get back to Ryan of Los Alamos, New Mexico. Playing middle linebacker. I wanted to go back to that guy. And the bottom line is you can't get back there, right? But what you got to do is you got to learn to be okay with the guy that's here now. So for me, I mean, I know we said we're going to talk about our experiences with Ibogaine a little bit and what we felt like that did for us. I'll go first and just say that I didn't have the experience that I really thought I was going to have, and it's been a rough 18 months afterward, and the integration piece is really what I missed. So I went through the medicine and I got what I got from the medicine, but then I came back home and I had stuff hit right away. Like they come up right away. I had to basically start going back to fighting the next day. So I didn't take that 30 days to really let the medicine work in me and reset my neuroplasticity and build those good positive habits. So I somewhat wasted, that opportunity. I did get a lot of good from it. I will tell you this, man. Before I went down there, we were talking about ending it all being 20, part of the 22 or the 44, depending on what numbers you're looking at. But I was really close on a daily, right? Before I went to Ambio, like I can't tell you why. I can't for the life of me tell anybody a specific reason why. But it was like every day I'd be driving home and I just would not be able to like stop crying and I I just wasn't okay. I just wanted it to end. I wanted it to go away, and I couldn't really figure out why. And even today, I'm kind of having a hard time really just explaining that. But I couldn't look at myself and be happy with what I was seeing looking back at me, right? I had done enough in my life that I was disgusted with myself. I was a monster. I was disgusting. I wasn't that person that I wanted to be. I wasn't a Green Beret anymore. I wasn't, one of the guys that was out getting after. I was just this broken, like, worthless human for some reason. Again, there was nothing I could see positive in myself. I would look in the mirror and I was just a waste of space. And to go from that high level, like you were talking about, Ryan, of like, hey man, I'm here, I made it, to now I can't even make contact. I can't even make eye contact with myself because I'm just disgusted with myself. And to wanting to end all of that, to then going through that medicine, and I'll be honest, 18 months, I haven't thought about it once. Right. So if nothing more, when I say I didn't feel like I got the same experience that a lot of the guys explained on the podcast, but whatever it did, it took that away. So that, for me was huge. Oh yeah. And I think a lot of it had to do with the integration piece on the back end that I didn't do. But I would really like to hear from you guys. And Ryan, you went how long ago? Was it 12 months now? Or wait,
you went in July.
I got home July 25th, right?
It was. I remember because I was supposed to go with you, and it was around July that we were. Supposed
I got home July. Yeah, I got home July 25th. Yeah, that's right. Because then I went to Ukraine shortly after that. I mean, for me, it was. How do I word this correctly so I don't scare people off? At first, when we finished 5-MeO, I did 3 total journeys with 5-MeO because I just had to keep going back in. When we were doing our out counseling, she was like, hey, how do you feel? You're talking with the group. And I told her flat out, I said, I am worse now than I was before I got here. I think you guys fucked me up. And I got to the airport and I was still high. I was still seeing, a lot of the evilness that my journey entailed through Ibogaine and DMT. Some really, really horrible visions. But I was seeing this in the airport. And then, of course, my flight gets canceled. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I can't even look at somebody without seeing, like, fangs and serpent tongues and stuff like that. I was like, whoa. So fast forward, I, get the hotel and everything like that. And I get back home. And I'm just like, I'm thinking, and this is, again, completely separate. But I'm thinking kind of like stuff. I was thinking about Frankie. And I was like, all right, what Frankie told me was he got hit with something that just completely rewired everything on him. I was like, I wonder if I just did something that just completely rewired me to be like this super evil dude because of the visions I had through my journey. They were extremely, extremely bad visions. And then I remember it was about a week and a half later, and I still had tracers and everything. Yeah. Apparently, I'm one of the small percentile. I don't know what percent, but small percentile that I'm very sensitive, I guess, to that because I was high for 2 weeks afterwards. Couldn't drive or anything like that. But I remember going on a walk with my wife, and our dogs and everything like that. And I remember I was like, damn, like, is this, like, you see this? See what? And like the trees and the vegetation and the grass and everything like that, I've never seen it so green before. And I could see the energy coming off of it, like this positive energy. And like everything around me had this energy to it and this positivity to it. And I was like, oh, okay. It just took me a little bit. I was like, man, the Indians were onto something with the natural plant-based journeys that they would go on to reconnect themselves with nature and stuff like that. But as as the days continued, I started feeling better and better and better. And now all of a sudden, I'm not there, I used to have this really bad, like, I don't know if it's an issue, but thing that would happen to me. So if I got startled, if there was a loud, like something startling where most people would be like, "Whoa, what was that?" Or a situation that I couldn't control or something like that, this rage or this energy, this negative energy would build up in me so deep to where I would have to like scream as loud as I could or punch a wall or break something or something like that to release the energy. I couldn't control it. It was uncontrollable. It was this rage that would take me over, and then I would do this extreme violent act. And then it would release it from me. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, well, my hand really hurts and now I got to patch a wall. That was dumb. Or something like that. That was completely gone. There was an incident that happened where a plate had fell off the table. Whereas before I would have jumped up and then immediately had to get aggressive, like thrown a chair or something just to release that extreme energy, something that would take me over. And I just looked up and I was like, I'll clean it up. And the house is at pins and needles, dogs, wife, everybody waiting for Ryan to explode.
Right.
And it was gone. And drinking. So I'm not saying that I don't drink anymore. I enjoy like a beer, like craft beers and stuff like that. All the Colorado visitors out there, you guys have some good breweries. So I'm not abstinent from alcohol, but I don't need alcohol anymore. I no longer need it. So for the first time in my life, I can have a drink and be like, I'm done. I've never been able to do that before. No idea why. Drinking was for one reason. It was to get fucked up.
Right.
And now it's like, yeah, I can have a drink. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, I'm good. No idea why. No idea how. It's just that trigger or whatever it is. I have no idea. But it's gone.
You reset it.
Like it's completely reset to now I can enjoy a drink and just be done. Just like, okay, well, I'm done. I don't feel like that. I don't want another drink. And then, but just my outlook on things. Like I had an ego death during 5-MeO DMT. I literally saw myself die. And I floated up above this field, this field of massacre that was happening around me, bodies and death and everything like that. And I floated up above it. And then I just started moving towards like this bright light, which turned out to be the bay there in Tijuana, on the hill that we did it on. Mm-hmm. And so when I came to, I'm looking out at the ocean, but that was my ego death. And I finally had I was like, my ego had ran my entire life for so long, and I was so tired to the point to where I had my exit plan, and I was so tired, and I finally was able to destroy my ego and to float above the evil and the absolute destruction that was happening in my life, because all the vivid, evil, horrible things I saw on my journeys, that was all my ego in my life. And I was able to float up above it. This is my vision.
Right.
And then when I came to, I was, after my third journey into 5-MeO, I was staring out at the bay, but I didn't quite know what had happened, because I was, at that time in Tijuana. It wasn't until about 2 weeks later when I got home when I was able to piece all this together. And then it was like, and then, doing your research again, no one's going to hand you anything, doing your research, watching the podcast, listening to other people's experiences, talking to people and stuff like that. I was able to conclude like my ego is dead. And now I need to rebuild, the new Ryan Hendrickson to the healthy my spiritual beliefs in God, renewing my relationship with God and putting my life back on that track and being the man that I always should have been, but, lost my way for quite a few years. And it is, Ibogaine and 5-MeO. Yeah, it was powerful for me. And it was the death of my ego. And there's nothing but benefits and positivity that's come out of my trip to Ukraine or Tijuana.
Okay. So I'd like to kind of talk about how long that lasted for you. But before we do it, since Frankie's just fresh out of it, let's get Frank's take on it, and then we'll kind of talk about how long that lasts and everything. Frankie, you just came back in December, right?
I did. I went at the beginning of December, got back on the 5th.
So it's been a month or 2.5 months, roughly.
Yeah, almost just about getting close to 2 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell us about your experience.
And my experience was really interesting. It was good. Like, all in all, very good, right? I think going into it, I was definitely worried about it, right? Just because of all the medical stuff that I was going through. I wasn't sure how my body was going to respond to it, right? Because it is a powerful medicine. Just with some of the research I was doing, it is tough on the liver, right? Like, you got to prepare yourself for it. Like, that's why the doctors on top of you, they do the labs just to make sure your liver is good, your heart's good. They do the EKG, right? So, like, because I didn't know what was going on with me with the Havana syndrome thing, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. I'm like, yeah, I want to do it, but me and Ryan had a few talks about it, and he definitely gave me some good advice. But I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go through and make it out on the other side just because of what I was going through, right? Since the docs couldn't really tell me anything and pinpoint anything. But going through it, I'm definitely glad I went through, right? It was a positive experience completely, right? Even though it was extremely uncomfortable for me, right? Because, you were talking about before how when you went through your experience, the main thing that it helped you with was, the stuff that you were going through psychologically, right? Right. And then with the stuff with Ryan, and then just with some of the research I was doing and talking to the people over there, the medicine is like somewhat intelligent, it seems like, right? And it knows what you really need and it attacks it, right? Not attacks it, but it tries to work on it. It tries to fix that specific thing that you're dealing with or you need the most. And for me, it was clearly what I've been going through or what happened to me during my last deployment, right? Because that's the whole night that I relived that night, the whole night. And not just like through visions or through memory, it was like physical, right? Like, I physically went through that feeling, that electrical explosion throughout my whole body, heart racing. Obviously everybody gets the vertigo thing, so that's normal. But that same thing, I went through it at least it felt like it was the whole night to me, right? But it was afterwards, right? Looking back at it, I'm like, that's what the medicine knew I needed to work on, right? Like, the medicine knew that's what I needed to work on. A lot of my PTS issues, the really strong ones, were because of the medical stuff. Right. Like I'm like, man, I'm gonna die. Yeah. I'm gonna die at any moment. Not that I'm scared to die, but I'm like, every day I'm like, dude, something's gonna happen. I'm gonna drop. And then the medicine really wanted to expose me to that again and again. And it literally just happened the whole time, man. Like, by the time I was done, my lungs were so exhausted from just trying to get my breath work right to, bring my heart down, because I just couldn't. Like, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have a heart attack, because the whole time my heart was just racing, exploding because of that electrical feeling I was feeling through my stomach all the way up into my body. Like, did you guys experience anything like that? An electrical feeling? It started here in this area and just kind of spread out all over the place?
I can't remember. I had weird feelings.
Everything was weird.
Everything felt weird. But
yeah.
One of the guys described it. He said it was like laying down in Times Square when they're doing road construction, right? It was just like, it was really loud in my head, but I wasn't feeling that electricity vibe in the way you're describing.
It was almost the exact same thing to what I experienced when I was deployed and experienced the Hernandez syndrome thing, and it just happened again and again, dude. Like it was tough, very uncomfortable at first. When it first started happening, I'm like, oh, okay, this is just the medicine, taking control, right? Because they say, that beginning part, it's going to be a little difficult. Get your breath work, and then once it goes away, you're good. Just go start doing whatever it is you need to do. But for me, it just kept going and going, right? So the first one, I was like, oh, I got this. I'm fine. This is it. We're good. We're going in. And then afterwards, it was like, oh, man, it's again. Oh, it's happening again. It just kept going. So it was hard, man. I was exhausted. Like, I was completely smoked. But it got to the point where I just didn't care anymore. It kept happening. I just didn't give a crap about it happening anymore. And it kept happening. And I just continued to pay attention to all the visions and going through all my little memory banks or whatever it is I was going through while I was in. And even though it was uncomfortable, I kind of let it go, right? As far as like all the visions go, like everything, I was having a hard time really understanding what was going on in there or how to navigate it. And when I finally figured out how to navigate it all, I felt like I was too exhausted from everything that I was continuing to go through, because it's not like it stopped eventually. It kept going, and I was like, man, I'm doing a lot of breath work. My heart's racing. Like the whole time I was worried about my heart, even though I kind of stopped paying attention to it. I'm like, man, I don't want to continue down investigating how to navigate this whole thing. Like I just wanted to focus on what I was dealing with. You know what I mean? Even though I still had a bunch of a great experience visually. It's just psychologically, I didn't really go that deep, if I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Afterwards, I came out of it. I mean, I was the only guy that didn't throw up. I don't know if you guys had that same experience.
Well, nope.
So I didn't throw up not once.
That was part of my problem is when I did purge, I purged my last 2 doses, so I didn't get the full ride that you guys got. And that's why I said I didn't get. My experience was a little different, but yeah, I purged. Ryan obviously did too.
Yeah, a few times. Nothing crazy. I mean, we had a guy that was two mats down from me that he spent 12 hours in a bucket. I felt so bad for him. Well, I felt bad for him afterwards. I was in my own land at the time, but this guy, he puked some demons up. Holy cow! It was intense.
And it's so violent too.
Yeah, it is.
It could get loud and violent.
Yeah, it was. We had a loud room. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I didn't do any. But the guy to my left and right, they were the ones that were throwing up the whole night. So they threw enough for me.
Yeah.
It was so loud. It kept kicking me out of my visions and all that. I'm like, what the hell was going on?
And for the viewers at home, you're going in fasted, right? So there's not much in your stomach. So when we talk about vomiting or purging, a lot of it's more of a dry heave. And as Ryan was just saying, like
it's like energy. You're releasing energy.
That's right. So don't let that scare you. If you're like, I hate throwing up, so I'm not going to go do this. Go try to save myself. Don't let that scare you.
It's necessary, right? Because the purging is you. From what I know about it, from talking to people, that's you just releasing, like Ryan just said, releasing any demons you might have or any toxins that your body needs to get rid of. Like the medicine knows what you got to get rid of. For me, I think the reason why I didn't throw up, man, because prior to that, for like the past 4 years, one of the first things I started doing when I got back, I'm like, man, I got to get my shit together, especially when no doctor is telling me, what I need to do to get better. I got extremely strict with my diet, right? And I dove deep into like the carnivore diet, just eliminating everything, trying to get rid of inflammation. I stopped drinking, no more coffee, like nothing, right? I got extremely strict. So I think that might have helped me leading up to my Ibogaine experience where I didn't throw up that much. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, your strict life helped me because how many times have I messaged you like, hey, Frankie, like, how should I do this? Or you see these lab results, dude, and you're like, don't eat this, cut this out. Yeah. So.
Yeah, because after that incident, I definitely dove deep into trying to get myself better. If nobody else is gonna help me, like Ryan was saying, like you gotta do it yourself, right? So I went down the rabbit hole of carnivore, and like I was doing raw milk fasting, like just drinking raw milk for like a month, and just doing all kinds of stuff. Maybe that helped, and that's why I didn't throw up. I don't know, man. But again, like my experience was good, and then I did not do the 5-MeO, which looking back, I regret not doing it, but I was not prepared to do it physically. I was completely like that whole night of just going through that feeling I was explaining before, all that, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. It was too exhausting, man. And then going into it, I was told, the 5-MeO it's definitely a little strong, a lot stronger. It's not just some simple thing, right? Like it's definitely going to be a good, difficult task. So for me, I was like, man, I just went through a lot. I don't know if my nervous system can handle more. And, some of the coaches were even telling me, it's like, bro, if you feel like you shouldn't do it right now, don't do it right now. You can do it in the future, right? Yep. Let yourself recover from what you just went through with Ibogaine. Let everything come together. And then, we'll get with you and we'll try to help you out with that, right? No issues. The reason why I say I kind of regret it is because it sounds like it definitely helps, right? Because as soon as I got done with the Ibogaine, I definitely got a little depressed. I felt like I was missing something. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just listening to everybody's story and I'm like, man, it sounds like I really needed that, right? But I don't think I could do it right now. So like I was bumming myself out really bad and I just didn't know how to process all that. You know what I mean? So I kind of wish I would have done it. I one of the things I definitely want to do is, the ego death thing. Like I definitely wanted to go through that process and just get rid of that, and I missed out on it, so I felt like I had an incomplete experience as well, even though it's been extremely positive on the afterwards, right? Because a lot of the symptoms that I was going through, man, they're like almost immediately they were gone, that I was experiencing with Havana syndrome. Yeah. And it didn't really click because they were like, hey man, it's going to take a few days to get out of your system. Right. I think it was like 20 days. And even shortly afterwards, you're still going to be feeling off. So I wasn't really paying too much attention to it. But when it really hit me was when I got, back home, landed into the airport, Pensacola. It was like 6:00 at night. One of the things that I was experiencing with is just, problem with my vision, right? Like I have perfect 20/20, but I have a hard time adjusting my eyesight to things. So like if I'm driving, looking forward, if I look at the rearview mirror and trying to look back, that adjustment to the rearview mirror, I don't know if you understand what I mean. Yeah. It would take forever. Time. It would be very slow, and then to go back, like it would make me dizzy. I'm like, man, I can't see shit. And then the extreme light sensitivity, which before if you would throw strobe lights in front of me, I felt like I'm gonna have a seizure, right? Okay. And it was like very intense. I never ended up getting a seizure, but it felt like I was gonna have something, Mm-hmm. So because of that, also like driving, it would be very difficult at nighttime, all the bright lights. So as soon as I landed again in the car and I started driving, I'm like, man, everything looks kind of weird right now, right? Like what the hell is this? And I'm on the highway on the I-10 going home, and I'm looking at the vehicles, I'm looking back, and then it clicks, right? And I'm like, man, my vision is pretty damn clear, like none of the lights are extremely bright. I could focus on everything behind me. I'm like, man, that's cool. Like, I wonder if that's just because maybe I'm still a little higher. Maybe I still got a buzz. But no, it's stuck, right? One of the things I was dealing with before, too, is so if I have my phone and I'm trying to text somebody, I can't walk and text. Not that I'm going to fall or anything. I can't read what's on my phone. Everything goes blurry, right? So if I'm just holding it, I'm just walking and trying to read it, I can't read it. It's just everything, all the words, all the letters, they just combine. That's gone, right? Now I could go for a run. I could read something, Wow. So that went away. A lot of the thing I said before, if I close my eyes and open it, all the lights flicker in the room, that went away. I haven't had any migraines, no headaches. My sleep is great, right?
I was going to ask you, what was your sleep like before? Were you struggling to sleep? Because you said when you were deployed, you couldn't sleep. It was just, that you just everything stayed on. So you'd use alcohol, and that would ultimately help you sleep, is what I assume, right? You were using alcohol to sleep. That's what I was doing. But
yeah, I mean, I was using alcohol just for the whole thing all day, but it was helping to sleep.
Yeah,
I think. But no, I wasn't sleeping that great still, right? Like, I mean, Ryan, when we went to Ukraine together, those first few nights, you probably saw me. I looked like shit because I just couldn't fall asleep. I couldn't fall asleep at all. I mean, we had all that jet lag.
Not to mention the air alerts going off.
Yeah. We had all the sirens and everything. So, like, you know, we're new environment. We're definitely hype. We got some shitheads flying around.
Oh, yeah.
And, but I drank a beer when we were out hanging out at the beginning that one time. And I wasn't drinking at that point, and that kept me up the whole night, right? So, like, now, I mean, the last trip we did was in last March. It's been a year.
Yeah, we came home before Christmas.
Yeah, it was like last March. So about a year ago.
No, we did one in the winter. Remember, we were training those guys, freezing our ass off in the snow. We came home before Christmas.
Yeah.
That was the second one, I think.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But that was cold.
That was really cold.
But yeah, so my sleep definitely improved, right? So, man, it's a list of things. Like every time I didn't notice all at the beginning. I would just be like, oh damn, that's not happening anymore. So I'll write it down, and I'm keeping track. But it's a wide variety of stuff. My hands are always red before for some reason.
They were always red.
Always red.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, like blotchy, like red and like white spots and stuff. And that was kind of how I would notice. I'm like, oh, damn, I'm feeling crappy. I'll look at my hands and, you know, they'll be super red. I don't know what it was. Nobody could tell me why it was happening.
Think it was a circulation thing, or...
I don't know.
That's weird, huh?
I have no idea what it was, but that's gone, right? Like, I've noticed that it'll still happen if I get pissed off. But before, it was like almost constant, right? This is a bunch of little things. Like, it actually did a lot of good for me, and it was pretty quick. It's only been a month, right? They say it stays in your system for like 6 months doing stuff. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can't wait to see what happens in 6 months, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
How you doing on time, Ryan?
Me? Yeah, we got time.
Well, hey, you mind if because I got the phone so I could talk about some of the recovery things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just real fast, because like this one's a pretty big one for me. Back then, as I'm falling asleep, I would freak out every time, right? And
like right as you're falling asleep.
Yeah, like as I'm falling asleep, I do the Joe thing. Like I know a lot of people probably have that one, or I would feel like I would just stop breathing, and it's not sleep apnea. That went away, man. Like it was bad. I put on one of those nightmare watches. Right? You ever heard of those where if it feels like your heart rate is coming up, it'll vibrate and kind of wake you up to kick you out of your night terror?
No, I never heard of them. But
yeah, so the ISC gave me one of those, and I was setting it off like 17 times a night, right? So this, I mean, it's not happening anymore, right? And that was a big one. So like my sleep was whenever I would sleep, it was extremely disrupted because I would keep waking up freaking out, whether it's I would stop breathing or anything or whatever it was. But it just went away, man.
Oh, that's awesome. So
that was a big one.
And it's been about 2 months. You haven't had any kind of night terrors, any sleep issues?
No sleep issues.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How was your sleep? How was it before you went to Ambio? Because I know have you tried other things as far as your recovery, like plant-based wise, or has it all been pretty much?
No, I mean, so gummies, I mean, that's it's a pretty staple part of my getting ready for bed is a THC gummy. Okay. Then just to start to rewind, relax, and just, kind of just enjoy it. And so, yeah, I definitely, before I went to 5-MeO, I was, THC, and then I still do it just because I enjoy it. I like it. I like psilocybin as well. So, but for me, sleep is, because of the amount of injuries I have, it's not really a mental thing. I every now and then, I'd have nights where my brain would just not go to sleep, not relax. But I think that's pretty normal. For me, it's just it's all the injuries, the arthritis that's built up all over my body and stuff like that. I've never really struggled with nightmares from like incidents that happened in the past or anything like that. Those would always hit me during the day. And so I'd be wide awake, and then all of a sudden I would get hit with something. I guess people would call it a flashback or something like that, but I'd get hit with something that would just be extremely violent, or like it could happen. It could happen at, anywhere, but it's usually in areas that I would start to feel uncomfortable with, or too many people around. So like a grocery store, and, I'm pushing a cart, and, there's a situation that comes up, and then I start to sweat profusely. Then all of a sudden I'm in this weird situation that I've been in my past, whether it's Afghanistan or anything like that. And then I'm just kind of just staring into nowhere. And then I'm back. I'm like, oh yeah, Frosted Flakes. Oh shit. Kind of like what just happened. So, but I never really had those happen to me at night. After I got blown up, and then the TBIs that I've suffered since then, like I've had some significant TBIs from Afghanistan and also Ukraine. But I would get these I'd be sleeping, and then all of a sudden this extreme flash of light and this energy would jolt me awake, and like the bed, like pillows soaked with sweat and everything like that. So maybe that's a nightmare, but I've never had something where it's like I'm dreaming about, killing or something like that. I've never really dealt with that. A lot of that stuff would come to me during waking hours in the day, when I would find myself in a situation that was extremely stressful, and then I would just start, and I knew something was coming, because I'd start sweating profusely, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm back. But look around a little bit and okay, yeah, act like nothing happened, kind of thing. It's like, woo, you guys watched that episode of Cops? I'm sweating from it too, But that's what used to happen to me, and I haven't had anything like that. That energy that used to take me over, as I explained a little bit earlier, with those violent outbursts when I needed to release that energy, or something would happen, like traffic was the worst. Yeah. Somebody cut me off, and all of a sudden I'm back in some location, and it's like, oh, your foot's still on the gas pedal there, stud. You may want to, so it could have impacted my life a lot more. But no, that was completely gone. And so sleep for me, I guess getting back to sleep for me, just depends on, the pain that I'm dealing with. How
comfortable you can get.
Yeah. Cause I'm not going to take narcotics that I've been like offered for sleep and pain reduction. I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. So I do THC, which kind of numbs things down a bit, and I'll sleep on one side until shoulders go completely numb, and then I got to flop over to the other side. And I do a lot of that throughout the night, but I got this Aura ring, and it'll track my sleep score and everything like that. And my sleep score used to be normal at about a 50 to 55, and now my normal sleep scores are in the 80s.
Okay. Nice.
So after Ibogaine,
right?
I gotta get one of those.
Yeah. Aura ring.
Yeah.
This isn't about Aura ring, but they're phenomenal, and I've gone through 3 rings, and they've sent me replacements like that free of charge. So they're awesome.
I'm sold. I'm definitely gonna have to get one as well, because I can't deal with. Do you have to wear your watch?
I can't wear my watch. I can't wear a watch when I'm sleeping. I hate it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I'm gonna have to try one of those. So
yeah, these Aura rings are. Yeah, they're money, and again, I'm not promoting Aura. My experience. It's amazing, and they're extremely user friendly. So
nice. Awesome. So Ibogaine's definitely helped you with. So what would you say definitely reset then? What we just talked about, your need to smash something, to get that energy out, that's completely gone now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's completely gone. Also, you know what else is gone that I didn't realize it, but things that used to be extremely stressful, huge situations that I would blow so far out of proportion they're gone. It's not that I don't care, but that old saying where, you know, the situation is way bigger in your head than it actually is. It's the truth. And, you know, I was my own worst critic, enemy, everything. Right. And now, no, since I've been back, it's just like, oh, well, that sucked, or we'll figure it out. And now I can think through situations a lot easier. Whereas before, I would have to go into these, you know, this huge dramatic, you know,
you have to react.
Yeah, I'd have to react and release the stress and drama and all this. And then it's like, oh, okay, I'll just flip this switch. Oh, okay, that was cool. Wow, why did I do all that? And then I'm reacting for why I reacted to and that's just, no, it's just all gone now. I'm just like, well, that sucked. Well, we'll figure it out. Or, oh, okay, yeah, let's do it like this, because now I can see the picture a lot more clear than I ever used to be able to.
Nice. Now, you mentioned some psilocybin. Did you, when you left there, did you microdose, or are you microdosing? Have you gone through any of that stuff?
No microdosing. I don't understand it well enough. There is a mushroom shop in Pensacola. It's called Lost Boys, I think, or Lost Brothers, Lost Boys. Anyways, all those mushrooms they were telling us to take, or the functional mushrooms that are extremely good for you that you should be taking, they damn, am I just promoting everybody on here? But they have, like, we get all of our mushrooms from them, and it's all the stuff like lion's mane and all this other stuff. So not, you know, becoming a lot more health conscious, which a lot of that had to do with Frankie, because I would see, you know, some of the stuff he was doing and it's like, ask questions. Now I'm going to his butcher for meat, and okay, yeah, let me try this and this. And, but also it's made me more in tune. After Ibogaine, I became more in tune with myself and my body and my health and my needs, to where, like, I wanted to take care of myself. And so I started looking at things that I never would have before, like mushrooms and different, you know, different holistic ways of healing yourself through food and stuff like that. And then, you know, Frankie and I'll have a conversation. I'll try something else. Like, okay, shit, that worked, or, you know, whatnot. But I've just become more in tune with myself as a person, because, you know, for one of the first times in my life, I actually, you know, love who I am now. I don't look in the mirror and hate what I see staring back at me. And then it's like, okay, you're an evil motherfucker. I'm going to prove you're evil, and I'll go out and do really bad things, just to prove my point the whole entire time. And that's completely gone. And now I want to take care of, you know, this wrecked shell I got left. Thank you, U.S. government. I want to take care of this, you know, what I have. And so I've been doing the research and studying and talking with people like Frankie and stuff like that to become more healthy and just to take care of what I have. And I think that is a positive side effect of the Ibogaine, was because now I have a new way that I look at myself, and it's positive instead of seeing the devil every time I looked in the mirror. So yeah, I mean,
dude, I love that, man. And you know, you say we're not going to promote anybody. Well, we're going to promote Ambio in this one, right? So, I mean, obviously Ambio and Trevor, you know, they did a phenomenal thing for the three of us, but you know, you start talking about becoming a little bit more holistic and paying a little or a lot more attention to what you're putting in your body, what you're taking in, to include the people that you're going to allow into it, right? Yep. Into your space. And I think Ambio really helped all of us with that, right? It started, I mean, you guys were already paying attention to your diets, but ultimately that's where it all came together, right? It was like you really started paying attention to, I mean, even sugars, right? Down there was nothing but decaffeinated tea with honey, right? Like that was your sweetener, and you thought you were never going to get through it without your coffee, and before you know it, it's like, man, I don't need caffeine, I don't need sugar. Still struggle with the caffeine a little?
There's no struggle. I love caffeine. I love coffee. Yeah, there's no struggle at all. That's it.
Well, I mean, we've all got our vices, and that's a happy one for you. But
I love coffee.
But yeah, I mean, when you start paying attention to everything you're putting in your body, and you start paying attention to every relationship that you're getting into, those phone calls that you're accepting, and the conversations that you're going to have, whether you're going to allow it to feel like the sky's falling and I got to react grandiose for this because it's a big deal, or if I can just be cool about it and be like, okay, cool, yeah, we'll deal with that. Right? I think it however it works, and I've had it explained, a multitude of ways, but it's like Legos, and you get to put them all back together, and you leave the blocks out that you don't want. But that neuroplasticity that we're afforded, right? And what we mean by that is this gives you the ability to reinvent yourself, to leave out any of those bad habits that you don't want, right? Alcohol, I don't want that anymore. And now, depending on what you do over the next 30, 60, 90 days is really the building blocks and the foundation of who you're going to be moving forward, right? That new you. And like I said earlier, I kind of screwed that up. I had to jump right in with both feet to another situation, and I didn't put myself first there. So I screwed that up. Ambio, those guys, like they're awesome. I know you said that you didn't do your 5-MeO, and I'm sure they told you you'll come back when you're ready, right? So I feel like I'll go back down and do another journey. It's been about 18 months for me, a little more. So I feel like that's something I'll go through again. I know of guys that have gone down more than once. I was watching, I saw a clip the other day of DJ was talking about he's going to go back down, right? And so what are your thoughts on it? It's been 8 months for you now. Do you feel like it's worn off at all, or do you feel like it's like you're still riding it out, surfing that wave?
Well, it's not really a worn off kind of thing. I mean, obviously the high and the tracers and stuff like that. Yeah, that wore off. It took me 2 weeks after, but it wore off. But no, as I said earlier, Ambio, what Ibogaine and 5-MeO DMT does is it resets you to the ground level if you allow it. It breaks you and it resets you, and now you're at this base level. And it depends on what you surround yourself with, what you build, what you start to build back up your house, your structure, what you build this up with is whether or not you're going to be able to say, yes, there are still great positive, lasting results I have. Or did you come back and you start drinking and start with all the negative stuff again? Like when I left Ambio, I didn't drink for 5 months just because I really I wanted to use that medicine. And I wanted to get every single benefit I could out of that medicine. But the results being permanent or not, or did they fade away? That's completely up to you, because Ambio will break you down to where you can rebuild yourself back up again. How you build yourself back up, that's up to you. And I've definitely heard guys that have gone through it before that they said, yeah, I really messed it up on the way, home, because I just, I let the stressors take me over. I started drinking again. I had this horrible situation happen over here. And well, then so not only are you now worse off than you were before you went, because what happens is Ambio will break you, or Ibogaine and 5-MeO will break you down. And now you need to rebuild up your structure again, your life. And if it's rebuilt back up with all negative things and stressors and the same reasons why you went there in the first place, now, in my humble opinion, you're going to even be worse off because before you went, because of what you built yourself back up for. That's the reason why Ambio will break. Why do I keep saying Ambio? Ibogaine and 5-MeO will break you down, and it will destroy your entire foundation. And then it will give you the foundation to rebuild yourself back up on again. They tell you at Ambio Life, they said, this is the very first part. Here is 10%. Or what did they say? 25% maybe, or whatever it was. But the hard work is on you.
Yeah.
You have to put in the other, 75% to rebuild yourself back up. And here's the tools for it. We have counseling. We have a bunch of different things that you can go through. But, okay, we brought you to your level. You are raw, that plasticity and everything. Now, literally like little children, what you surround yourself with and what you take in is what you're going to become.
Yep.
And so now it's up to you. And so for me, they are lasting because I wanted, if I was going to go and do that, which was a huge step for me, then I'm going to do everything that they recommend and tell me to do for a healthier and mental health, for better health and mental health and spiritual health and everything like that. I'm going to do this. And then if it doesn't work, I can say, okay, well, that didn't work.
Yep.
But I did my research, and too many people say it does work. And so I was going to give it that 6 months of surrounding myself with positive and really working on myself. And I still am. I'm a human being, and so for me, yes, the positivity that I started to see 2 weeks after I got home is still here.
Nice.
And I feel that another trip there, because when I talked to Frankie was actually, he was doing Ibogaine the correct way. He went into his trip and he's like, all right, this is what I want to work on. Here's the questions that I have. I need to use this tool. For me,
right.
I did it and I let it take me over, and it took me some really, really horrible places. And I didn't do any of the techniques or the questions that we were supposed to ask Ibogaine or anything like that. I just let it completely take me over, and it did. It was a really, really hard experience for me. Overall benefited, but it was an ugly experience for me. And so I would like to go back and redo it again and try to now use it as a tool to keep digging deeper into those layers.
Right.
For me, but
Did you have intentions set when you went in?
No.
So you just said, I'm here. I'm going to let it do what it needs to do.
Well, I was going to back out, and then this organization called Task Force Dagger, amazing organization. They said, hey, because I didn't have the money for the whole trip.
Right.
And this organization, Task Force Dagger, was like, we'll pay for your trip. Go and do this. And I was like, crap, I can't back out now. Because before I was like, hey, look, guys, like, I don't have the money for all this, because there was another organization that was going to pay half of it.
Right.
And I was like, I don't think you understand. The other half that's a lot of money to me.
Money.
Yeah. And Task Force Dagger came in and they're like, nope, we got it. You're going.
That's awesome.
And I was like, crap. It's like, now I have to go. So when I got there, I was like, okay, my bailout plan didn't work. The plane didn't crash on the way here. It's like, dang it. So I got there and I was just like, I don't want to be here. Yeah. Like, why did I come? So I was already negative when I got there. And I wasn't focusing. I was, dealing with, stuff in Ukraine and stuff over here. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I just need to get this over with so I can get back to my life. And Ibogaine was like, watch this.
Get rich.
Because, so now knowing, I guess you can say kind of rudimentary, the process, I would go at it completely different a second time.
What would you do different?
I would go in there knowing exactly why I'm there.
Okay.
And now they lay everything out for you.
Right.
And they're extremely professional, extremely well organized. Everything they do is the highest level of professionalism.
I agree.
And so, but for me, I was just like, okay, yeah, that's cool. All right, guys. Hey, this equipment needs to go here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nope. Yep. Tell them I'll be back in about 4 days. Okay. Yep. Great. Okay. Yeah. Hey guys.
So you were somewhere else.
I was somewhere else all the way up until Ibogaine was like, fuck around and find out. And I did.
So question with the Ibogaine, when I went through it, I remember the brief. You're going to do X number of doses. Everybody goes down, takes their position. After about an hour, they'll come around, see if you're in it, offer you another dose. Did you take another dose?
No.
Okay.
No, I went to
Frankie?
the spirit world quick.
No. Yeah, absolutely not. I kept speaking to some of the guys, not some of the guys, the two counselors that we had there, and it didn't sound like I was going to want to take another one. Plus, I was like half the weight of everybody that was there. I'm like, nah, I'm good, man. I don't want to take that other one.
Well, so they break it down based off of everyone's body weight. So you take 4 and I take 4 and Ryan takes 4, but we're not taking the same exact amount.
So they actually adjust.
Yeah, we're taking what is meant for your body weight type. And then going into the 5-MeO DMT, you obviously took an extra one, right? Because they offer you 2, and then you asked for a third. So you were finding, and that speaks a lot, right? Because you went into this thing with a ton of anxiety about going in doing a hallucinogenic, and then the 5-MeO. Like these medicines are, at least I had a ton of anxiety. I was scared to do it. You were talking about backing out. I was talking about backing out because I was scared. And so I had a lot of anxiety going into these. So I could see people not asking, like for my group, there was a couple of guys, maybe only 1, maybe 2, that only did 1 dose of the 5-MeO DMT, but everyone was somewhat hesitant going in. I asked for more. I asked if I can do a third, because I was finding something in it too. But now, was 3 enough, or would you have gone 4?
No, I would have gone 4. I feel that I left a lot. They told me that 3 was enough because there wasn't anything I was going to get out of a 4th journey, because that was what I was talking about my ego dying, floating above everything. But there was still unanswered questions, and this energy source. It looked like a square figure all the way at the end of this field, and in this field, there was the worst evil humanity could do. There was, people killing each other, eating each other, raping each other, chopping heads off, gutting each other. And I was having to crawl through this field trying to touch this energy source. And if I could touch this energy source, it would reveal to me my pain. I would keep getting closer, and then I would come out of it. And I was like, I need to go back. Then I'd get closer and closer, and it would get even more evil and more vicious. And I mean, there was one time they said I stuck my hand down my mouth because I was trying to pull this demon out from inside of me. I tried to rip my ribs open because there was something trying to get out of me. And one of the guys that was there, Isaac, he told me, he's like, I've seen one other guy have an episode like this, and it looked like an exorcism, just with the energy. When I finally died, this scream I let out, and this energy that but no words came out. It was just my, and I had bloodshot eyes. I bursted blood vessels in my eyes. I also, my veins in my arms hurt to touch because they were so strained, and so were the veins in my neck. And I can only imagine, but yeah, the third journey, and I don't want to go into a lot of the details, but the third journey, I finally was able to touch that energy source. And that's when I immediately shot above, everything. And I was looking down, floating, on a cloud, and then everything was blue and peaceful. And I was looking down at the world just destroy itself. And, they were like, no, you got there. But I was like, I don't think I did. There was, because I was still, that energy source was still there, and I didn't actually see what it was. And they were like, we think you're good. I don't know if my veins could have took another one. And like I said, I can't even imagine what the poor airport guy was thinking when I looked at him. He's, whoa, it's like, yeah, sorry, dude, missed my flight. The eyes thing, don't worry about that. But yeah, my eyes were bloodshot from burst blood vessels in my eyes and stuff. So,
wow.
Yeah, don't let that discourage anybody listening.
Right.
That was just my journey. The reason why Ambio, they tell you, they were like, if you plan on going, it's not smart to talk to other people about their journeys because everybody's journey is different.
That's right.
Yeah.
But your subconscious can hold on to things, and your subconscious, you can all of a sudden turn their journey into yours. They're like, go into it for your own journey.
Right.
That was mine. A lot of evil, a lot of self-destructiveness that I had to leave behind in that field. But yeah, people listening, it's, you can't listen. You can't, like, it's good to be educated on other people's experiences, but you have to understand that this is your own journey and you have to do it for yourself, which goes all the way back to what we were talking about earlier, is no one's going to help you except for you. They can give you the tools, they can provide you with resources, but you have to help yourself. And so, yes, get educated on Ibogaine and 5-MeO. Get educated on this powerful plant-based treatment that can truly help so many. Educate yourself on it, but then again, you have to take that step forward. God will open doors. You just have to have the balls to walk through them and get your own experiences. So,
yeah, no, and I second that. And thanks for bringing that back up again. We talk about this and if, sitting at home, this is speaking to you and you feel like this is the next step for you. There's definitely organizations, Task Force Dagger is one of them that we've mentioned. Vets is another one. We can put some links down in there. Because this is expensive, but there are organizations out there that are sponsoring us to go through. But again, you got to reach out and you got to ask for the help.
And not to mention, the laws are changing in the U.S.
That's right.
So California, Gavin Newsom just put into law they're going to start to build up these clinics. Texas, the same way.
Governor
Texas
Perry
has done this. There's a couple other states. Not to mention, there was a podcast that the Secretary of the VA was on, and he was asked about this. What am I trying to say?
Kind of like a voucher system, or the
No, just flat out psychedelic based therapy. And because, you have Joe Rogan who interviewed Governor Perry, stuff like that. Well, the Secretary of the VA flat out said, yes, if it will help veterans, then I want to find a way to get this as part of treatment for veterans in the United States. And so things are changing when it comes to psychedelic therapy because it's so effective. Mm-hmm. I have my concerns about it because it also it will take away a huge margin for many organizations in the United States that can give you pills that cost a lot of money. Right. It will really chip away at their margin because this does the exact opposite. It takes you off all of that medication.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw kind of somebody used it as kind of a joke, but it was like, hey, if you want to experience, if you want like world peace, give everybody like 5 grams of psilocybin, let them all do a hero's dose of mushrooms, have that ego death, and everybody will be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, psychedelics are 100% power or extremely powerful. So we were talking about these psychedelics, Ibogaine, 5-MeO, ayahuasca, psilocybin. They were put on the Schedule 3 narcotics list way back in the 60s, right? As marijuana was put on it as well. And
wasn't that the Reagan administration that did it?
Right, Nancy and Dare and all that. I think it was around that era. And so before there was any real testing done, it was like they got put on this list. So now they're starting to pull all these things out and actually run us through the tests. And you're right. I think Texas is leading the fight in that. There's several states that are allowing psilocybin for clinical use. And I know Colorado's one. New Mexico, I think, has authorized it. So a lot of the more liberal states are
there's other places for ketamine treatment and stuff in the US as well.
Right. So there's things that are working, and so I think these conversations are really important, right? We're the end users of all this stuff. We're not the doctors. We can't necessarily tell you the exact reason why it's going to work, but we'll tell you how it worked for us or how it's working for us. And I think these conversations are important. So Frankie, before we close out, man, like you're the newest one going through it. Are you still kind of on cloud 9? How do you feel like this has changed your life in a positive?
Man, I feel like the way it's treating me right now is it gave me a second chance to get back to how I was before, all my stuff. So like it's going really well, right? I still think that I would go back as well, right?
I think we should go back together.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to go back. Yeah, let's go, all 3 of us, man. I would definitely like to still go back. I've seen a lot of positive come out of it. Again, I'm only a month and a half, almost 2 months. But when I went through, there was still things that I didn't get to explore, right? And I want to go back and explore it, right? And not just talking about the 5-MeO, I'm talking about with the Ibogaine itself, I want to dive a lot deeper. But my intention on that first one was to heal whatever it was I was going through, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely positive on the outside.
Right on. Well, I agree with you guys. I think at least the place we went, I can't say enough good things about it. The staff was world class. Food, everything there, right?
It was fantastic.
The house, everything was great. I think I was in a different house than you guys, but it was amazing. So, if you are looking for a place that's, Ambio Life Sciences is one I would highly recommend. I mean, it's the only one that we've been through. What are your recommendations? Who'd you send to it? I mean, are we talking, would you send your wife?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second. The spouses, right? The ones that they have to deal with us. The kids, the spouses, they have to deal with us. And I know, Ryan, you said you don't have kids, but as my kids are getting older, I've definitely been on the receiving end of conversations that sound like you're always pissed off. I never know what's wrong. You're always angry, and that's coming from my son's 21-year-old son who's like, dude, I don't know how to deal with you. Who would you send to go down there and go through this? Right? You said it'd be good for your wife, you think?
Well, I mean, it's in my opinion, it's good for everybody, right? Because life, you cannot get through life without being dinged up. And what I realized from Ibogaine was it's a tool. It's a tool to for me, I needed a total self-destruction to rebuild literally from the ground up. But for other people, Ibogaine it's going to give you what you need. Right. And so nobody goes through life unscathed. The problem with a lot of our spouses and I can't speak to the part of children, but what the issue with a lot of our spouses is they're the silent professionals in the background, but it's not a glamorous job because they have to deal with you being gone and holding down the fort, and then you coming home, which you is coming home, and then they have to deal, the mental minefields that our spouses deal with is far more than we deal with. And people are like, well, you're going to war. Deploying is easy.
Right.
It is simple. I understand my life. I wake up, I turn food into shit. I go to the gym, I work out, we mission plan, we do our stuff. I go back to the gym, turn more food into shit, and then I go to sleep. Being deployed is the easiest time I've had in my life. Being home, that's when all the stressors are from just normal life. And I remember my wife was like, why are you so upset? This is normal. I was like, wow, this is your normal. And so I do believe, military spouses, they would definitely benefit from a lot of this because, number one, how much they have to deal with. And they deal with it because, they love their husband or their wife or whatever, whoever the spouse is, and I'm going to make this work or whatever. And so they deal with it out of an obligation to their spouse. That's number one. But number two, the mental anguish they go through, we don't understand because not only when we get home, they're wondering which, in my case, which Ryan is coming home, but when we're gone, it's like, is he coming home?
Right.
And what that does to you over months and months and months of thinking that way, and then you're home, and then it's like he's going back over again, and that really does, that leaves scars. And that can again, I'm not a psychologist, but I would assume that starts to rewire your thinking. And so I do believe spouses would benefit greatly from it because in my humble opinion, spouses hold more hidden wounds than we do as deployers, regardless if you've stepped on an IED, you got hit with directional frequency or shot or whatever it is. They hold more hidden scars and trauma than even we do because of everything they have to go through that we don't see. And it's like, well, we lost a teammate this trip. I had a buddy die this trip. That affects them even more at home because they're like, is my husband next? Mm-hmm. And there's no way possible. Like, that's another thing with the military that we've heard a lot about. Nobody told me how to turn it off. Right. Spouses are the same way. How do I turn that off? And so they become numb, or they put on this mask to be tough because either they have to for their children and they have to show the strength and like, hey, we got it together. But how many times are they crying themselves to sleep at night because they're hurting extremely badly? And so, yeah, I do. Like, I really believe our spouses, which, not in a negative way, but they've been neglected with mental health. Sure. I believe they would benefit greatly from this because they are our spouses, our military spouses are some of the strongest people and personalities in the world because they have to deal with things that are far more stressful than Frankie and I, getting shot at in Afghanistan together. Like, the level of stress that the spouse has to go through is on a whole different level. And the strength that it takes to keep putting on that I got my shit together face every single morning while there's this war going on inside of you, I can't even imagine it. So yeah, so long story, even longer. Yes, spouses would really benefit from it.
Yeah, I humbly agree, man. Like we don't give our wives our husbands enough credit, right? We talk about them during retirement speeches, during our promotion speeches, right? My rock, I wouldn't be here without them, and then that's it, man. But you're 100% right. Like they go through a lot more than we do, because they have zero control over it. Yeah. Right. We at least have control over ourselves, right? And we can make things happen. We may or may not come back, but we chose to do it too. Yes, exactly. They chose to marry us, man, but then they got to sit there and watch us make all these decisions for ourselves, and they have to deal with the aftermath. So yeah, man, I love that you took the time to give them the credit.
I mean, they're all heroes. All
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Frankie, what else you got, man? What as far as your transition's gone so far, and you're what, 4 years? How long ago did you transition from the military?
I got out in 24.
24. I'm saying 4 years. So you're year and a half, 2 years in. What's hit you that you weren't expecting, and what advice would you give to the bros that are about ready to transition?
Guys that are getting ready to transition, I would just say try to plan everything out before you even get to that point. You know, a lot of us, we end up doing so many things all the way up to the last minute, and then when you get to that point where you're getting out, you just don't know what's next. And I think that's where a lot of the issues come. So having a good plan for, work on the outside, and then for all the, how to get your body back to normal, right? Whether it's, just physical therapy or, this type of stuff that we're talking about for, mental health, or even, pursuing, stem cells like we were talking about before, to try and fix all those injuries that you got while you were in the service. And now you get out and you're like, man, I just want to play soccer with my daughter and I can't, right? Because I'm all tore up.
Right.
So, having a good plan, and I know it's hard because that whole time that you're working on retirement and trying to figure out what's next, you're extremely busy during that time, right? Whether it's just dealing with all the retirement stuff or just medical stuff, so you get, everything squared away for the VA. It's hard to forget that you will be out, right? So for me, getting out, I didn't have a plan. It happened pretty quick because I got medically retired because of the Havana syndrome thing. So luckily, before I even got out, everything worked out. I had somebody that was able to help me out with a good job. And then, I started working with Ryan with tip of the spear landmine removal. So it worked out for me. But if I didn't have that, then I don't know what I would have done, right? So I was not prepared. I recommend doing some good planning, doing some good research so that you're good. Having a good plan, definitely for all the physical stuff too, right? All the recovery type things that you're going to have to do.
So, real quick, just and I second that. It's obviously, or not obviously, I screwed it up, right? I worked till the last day. I didn't spend too much time working on what was going to be next. I did go through the Intrepid Spirit program, so I was working on my mental health stuff there and my physical health. I had some surgeries at the end, but how much time do you think that should take somebody that's retiring after a 20-year career? I mean, do you think 6 months is enough, or do you think you should really start at about 2 years out, just finalizing stuff 2 years out?
Yeah, 6 months isn't enough, especially for guys like us that, we go through our whole career and we don't say anything to the doc. Yeah. Right? Like we don't
you don't want to be taken off the team.
You don't want to be taken off the team. You want to continue to deploy. You want to keep doing stuff. So, you go to Thor 3 and get some dry needling, some massage, acupuncture or whatever, which that helps with the documentation a little bit. But we wait to the last minute and then we're like, okay, now I got to get everything in order. So, as soon as you start getting close, like 3 years out, maybe, I would say like 3 years is probably pretty decent. Because at least then you can start getting all the right appointments that you need to get every injury looked at or whatever, right?
Right.
And then really start planning out what you're going to do for work. Start networking, right? Because guys like us, after so many years working in SF, you definitely know somebody that's doing something, But if you don't reach out to them or start asking questions, you're not going to know. So you could build those networks way before those 6 months.
Yeah, definitely good advice. So was it Task Force Dagger that connected you to Ambio, or how did you get connected to them?
So I reached out to vets.
Okay.
Right? I did their application, and they set me up with everything. And I was gonna have to pay about 50% of the whole thing, but I got lucky, and there was a donor that came in and was like, "Hey, I want to hook up a father for Father's Day," and he paid for the whole thing. Man, he really crushed it. Awesome, dude. I ended up speaking to him afterwards, and told him thanks, and told him we'll probably go hang out with him because he's in Texas.
Nice.
So in May when we go for our thing, for the gala. Yeah, so
we got to invite him to it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where in Texas. I can't remember what he said. But yeah, I'll let him know. It'll be cool if he could go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just did the application with vets, and
Nice.
and everything went through them. I didn't reach out to anybody else.
Okay. No, and I know of vets. I've heard of Task Force Dagger, and I was trying to think if there's any other nonprofit. I know there's a lot of nonprofits that are in the space of trying to help with healing. But the point being, there's a lot of things out there, right? And as you're building those networks, going through that retirement, like that's part of the networks you should be building, right? Like starting to understand, like the VA clinics in the area that you're going to be moving to, that you're going to be relocating to, and really just starting to understand the wickets of how all those things are going to work. Mm-hmm. I know I'm still, I'm 5 years, 6 years. Post-retirement now, and I'm still learning new things. So I think the more conversations though along these lines that we have, and just the more information we can put up, it's going to help the network and help the bros. Before we end here, because I know we're going on a little over 3 hours now, right? Real quick on your book, how can they get your book? How can they get a copy of it? And then y'all's nonprofit, want to have a chance to just spend 5 minutes talking about what you guys are doing with the demining and how people can donate to that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so the book's on Amazon and stuff, like different bookstores. It's called Tip the Spear. And then with the nonprofit, right now we're working out of Ukraine. We're just retired U.S. veterans. We go over to Ukraine and we work with our Ukrainian counterparts on minefields, removing landmines and explosive hazards and villages and remote areas for civilian population, so they can come back, start to rebuild their lives and put the pieces back together without living in fear of their next step. We're looking at expanding to Burma. There's some opportunities that have been popping up in Nigeria, and so yeah, I'm gonna pray about it, see what doors open up, and then see see if we're going to be walking through those doors or not. I think Burma is probably going to be happening with the team. Just as with everything, it takes funding. But our next mission to Ukraine is going to be here in April timeframe, and then I'll come back and we'll fundraise again and just keep doing what we're doing. So.
Dude, that's awesome, man. How do we find you? How do we find your website to donate?
Yeah, so the easiest way is just landmineremoval.org. And it's all one word, landmineremoval.org. And from there's tons of links you can click on. It'll take you to social media pages so you can see videos of the work that we're doing, all kinds of stuff like that. So... and again, it's we're veteran founded, veteran operated, and yeah, just trying to do our little piece, leave the world a little bit better than we came in.
I love it, man. Yeah. I love it. Frankie, before we go, you guys work together on that. Are you working on anything else? How do people get in touch with you? Social media? Are you a Facebooker or where are you at?
I got the social media, but that's not a good way to get a hold of me. I'm never on it. I don't even know how to use it, really.
It's not.
Yeah, so I mean, if you know me, just contact information is good. But I'm not working on anything. Just working with Ryan, trying to support the company. I mean, not the nonprofit as much as I can, and just doing other stuff that I do, other contract work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, I can't thank you enough for making the drive, coming out here. I know the information we put out today, like it's gonna reach the guys and gals, man. Like it's important that we have these conversations. And I can't thank you enough for coming and sharing your experiences and trusting us to to do this for us. So anyway, guys, appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you guys again on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely, brother.
I'll give you guys some of this real quick.